Marvel. I am the owner of the small universe. Chapter 1. The phone vibrated and the ringtone came. Li Huan ignored it, staring at Xingju on the computer screen and vomiting blood in anger. The picture is playing the Three Women's Federations. A group of superheroes worked together to control the purple potato essence and began to fight hard to grab the Infinity Gauntlet, and Star-Lord learned that Gamora was dead, directly Shi-Lezi, and then punched the purple potato essence on the head. The plot behind Li Huan is clear. The purple potato essence breaks free, uses the Infinity Glove, and almost destroys Iron Man and Star-Lord and the group. In the past week, Li Huan has brushed the entire series of Marvel movies more than 5 times, but every time he saw this, he had an urge to kill Star-Lord. MB, when I meet you boy over there, I have to kill you. Li Huan said fiercely. At this moment, a nice female voice sounded in his head. Dear observer, the origin point has been absorbed, and the conditions for integration are met. Please select the target universe. Li Huan's body shook, and his heart suddenly became excited. Then, he stretched out his white and slender right hand, and in the palm of his palm, a stream of light suddenly gathered, and then slowly turned into a miniature of the vast universe. Look closely, one after another cosmic celestial objects appear, nebulae, galaxies, supernovae, black holes, they all circulate according to their own rules of physics, and one star after another shines with faint fluorescence, slowly rotating around the central black hole. All this seems so magnificent, orderly, harmonious, and magnificent. However, in the upper right corner of this cosmic miniature, there is a striking black cloud, very abruptly across this universe, like a huge trauma. Not long ago, Li Huan got a universe that was on the verge of collapse. Then he discovered that there was no longer a natural life in this universe, only an ultimate intelligent life remained, and its name was Zero. In layman's terms, Zero is the system, a little hope left before all God-level civilizations in this universe are destroyed. According to Zero, as long as Li Huan can help it complete the task of repairing the universe, he will be able to have its highest authority and become the master of this universe. Now, Li Huan only has the identity of an observer. And Zero's current help to him is also limited, only cosmic shuttle and soul absorption. After thinking about it, Li Huan decided to travel to the world of the Marvel Universe. Not only because he loves the world, but he can use the power of prophetic foresight to rise quickly. Most importantly, in the Marvel Universe, there are origin law condenses that repair this universe, Infinity Stones. Marvel Cinematic Universe, Li Huan said in an excited voice. Yes, Your Excellency Observer, the target is locked, the Marvel Multiverse Universe. Beginning to integrate, start adding origin interference. Here we go. Li Huan clenched his fists, his eyes excited. 30 years in Hedong, 30 years, I'll come back and pretend. In the swearing, Li Huan's location was surrounded by a transparent void distortion, and immediately after, his whole person disintegrated, turning into points of light, and then, disappeared without a trace. Rumble, tapped the light and shadow in front of him flickered. Confused, Li Huan heard the roar of guns, as well as the hoarse shouts around him, extremely chaotic. In addition, there was a sharp pain in the head. Li Huan opened his eyes and saw that the smoke in front of him was filled with gunpowder, and the air was filled with a pungent smell of gunpowder. It worked. Touched the head, blood in one hand. Lie down, watch out for mortars. There are snipers at 10 o'clock. Vitality covers. Lister, ammunition. Fact, I said ammunition. The success of the crossing made Li Huan secretly happy in his heart, but this joy had just appeared, and the scene in front of him stunned him. The place where he was located was a fierce battlefield, with rows of trenches, crazy soldiers, machine guns roared, above it was barbed wire. In the smoke, the guns tore through the void, screams and cries for help converged. And not far from Li Huan, lying on the remnants of a soldier, this blurred scene of blood and flesh tightly grabbed Li Huan's heart. Li Huan's whole person was stunned, and the blood in front of him made him just want to vomit. He is a person from peacetime. 1 second, he is still watching a movie in his villa, and the next second he comes to this battlefield full of artillery. The transformation is so huge that it makes people's scalps explode. The shocking scene is 100 times stronger than the excitement brought to him by the movie picture. List, fact, what are you doing? I said ammunition. Ammunition. A strong, bearded man was holding a machine gun, and while he suddenly burst out, he turned his head and roared angrily at Li Huan. The other party speaks English, and Li Huan went to an aristocratic school before and has always used bilingual teaching, so it sounds like there is no obstacle. Listen to the bullets above his head whizzing by, making a sharp roar, almost as if they were close to his scalp. Li Huan swallowed his spit, shrunk his neck, and sat down on the ground, buzzing in his head, not daring to move. No, it will die, it will die. Calm down, calm down. He patted his face, trying to calm down, but only felt that one of his hearts was pounding uncontrollably. Looking up and glancing forward, in the distance are old tanks, and soldiers carrying the swastika flag charging with bloody faces. It scares him. The only one who used this symbol as a flag was the historical mustache. MB, Lao Su actually crossed directly to the battlefield of World War II. Li Huan simply wanted to vomit blood. He was just an ordinary person. Should this start be so exciting? He crossed successfully. Unexpectedly, Zero actually threw him directly onto the battlefield. Nima. If his own experience can be written into a novel, this opening is definitely suspected of abusing the master. The bearded man, who controlled the machine gun, turned around again and urged, his voice anxious. Li Huan looked at the bullet chain that was almost at the end, and he knew that if he did not obey the order on the battlefield, he would be shot. He gritted his teeth, summoned up the greatest courage, picked up the ammunition beside him, and struggled to move over there. However, before he could get closer, he heard a whoosh. Immediately afterwards, Li Huan only saw the bearded helmet, which suddenly broke a big hole and flew up, and the red and white brain pulp also flew in the air. Still roaring at himself in the last second, a living person. The next second, the skull is gone. Someone around yelled, "Sniper!" Li Huan was stunned. For the first time he felt that death was so close to him. The next moment, however, he heard Zero's familiar electronic synthesis. Your Excellency Observer, the origin interference has been completed, and it has been perfectly integrated into the Marvel Multiverse universe. Time, 3 years and 6 months. Tip. Get an Infinity Stone as soon as possible to extend the perfect blend time. Current remaining origin points, 72. Immediately afterwards, Li Huan saw a virtual box on the bearded corpse, which said found the broken war soul. Do you absorb it? There are several sub-options below, which are Elementary Machine Gun Shooting Tips 20. Beginner Rifle Shooting Experience 6. Beginner Melee Fight 4. Pure Energy 6. Looking at the virtual box in front of you, there are also, yes and no, options at the bottom. Isn't this Nima nonsense? Li Huan did not hesitate. Absorption. As soon as he finished saying this sentence in his mind, a white light suddenly flew out from the bearded man and burrowed into Li Huan's body. Hold the grass. What about Pit Daddy? All this is a long story, but only 2 or 3 minutes have passed since he successfully crossed through the present. At this time, countless experience in the use of firearms and close combat began to emerge in his mind, as if it had become his instinct. Well, that's great. Li Huan's expression was excited. Looking at the rain of bullets around him, he suddenly felt no longer so afraid, and those enemies who were charging next to the tank made him have a killing intent. A moment later, the broken war soul had been completely absorbed by him, and all kinds of machine gun shooting experience and rifle shooting experience were completely integrated in his mind, and he suddenly felt that he was now a sharpshooter. And after the last lump of pure energy entered his body, it turned into a little fluorescence, blending into the flesh and blood around him. There was a burst of soreness and numbness from the musculoskeletal body all over the body, which became swollen and hard. This feeling was very peculiar, but it only lasted for more than 10 seconds before it ended, and then Li Huan felt that he was full of a powerful sense of power. Broken War Soul, after absorption, consumes origin points 1. Sure enough, Zero's understanding of the origin of the universe has reached the point where it can be used directly. Such a means is probably equivalent to the function of having a part of the soul gem, right? The principle that Li Huan guessed in his heart, extracted from a dead soldier to the broken war soul, was obviously related to the soul realm. The shouting of killing continued, and the situation in this position was precarious because of the lack of a machine gunner. He looked around, quickly got up with ammunition, lowered his head, and quickly sneaked behind the machine gun. Then he pulled the bearded corpse aside, quickly glanced out, and quickly took it back. There were many bullets around him, and Li Huan's adrenal hormones secreted rapidly. He skillfully changed the chain of the machine gun, grabbed the handle, took a deep breath, and then suddenly got up, aimed at the 5 or 6 people rushing ahead, lowered the muzzle, and began to strafe. Click, tap, click. The machine gun began to sound rhythmically, and in Li Huan's eyes, several enemies who rushed to the front were directly shot by bullets, and under the cavity effect, several huge bullet holes appeared on their bodies. In the next second, Li Huan felt a panic in his heart again and immediately shrunk back. Kill. Did I kill someone? Li Huan swallowed hard, his head was chaotic. A heart is beating wildly again. Just a few minutes ago, he was still watching a movie at home, lamenting the misfortunes of life. And at this moment, he was already on the battlefield under heavy artillery fire, killing several people with machine guns. Although the shooting skills were acquired. But he, after all, is an ordinary person. Murder, breaking the law. And before coming here, let alone killing, he had never even seen a corpse, not even a chicken. And here is the battlefield, dead people everywhere, the enemy is charging again, which allows him to finally pull the trigger of the machine gun. A moment later, Li Huan's psychological burden eased, and he showed determination in his eyes and stood up again. Li Huan once again held the machine gun, left the peaceful and ordinary life behind in the past, and began to rhythmically burst out of the enemy in front of him, and then, watching one enemy after another, fall in his own bullet rain. With Li Huan's might, the surrounding soldiers suddenly felt that the pressure was greatly reduced, and immediately organized a counterattack, unexpectedly directly beating back this wave of the enemy's offensive. Haha, good list. Lister, you're a tough guy, I like you. Little Whiteface finally stood up, this time back, I promise not to kick your ass. There were shouts from his comrades around. Li Huan was unmoved, his face was extremely cold, and he continued to shoot rhythmically. List, is this my name in this universe? Li Huan was thinking of this, and a dangerous feeling of being targeted by a poisonous snake suddenly appeared in his heart. He jerked his head, and his body instinctively rolled into the trench. Clang. The next moment, Li Huan only saw that the machine gun body was hit by a bullet, splashing huge sparks. Li Huan's body trembled, and he hurriedly shrunk his neck and rolled over to hide in the trench. Just now it was almost a moment of life and death. Sniper. Li Huan looked up, and the machine gun that was still releasing the destruction fury yan a second ago, the barrel had cracked, and there was a squashed 7.92mm rifle bullet embedded on it. Li Huan knew that his previous excellent performance had been targeted by the enemy's snipers, and at this moment, he did not dare to move. There was some fear in my heart, but more faint excitement. In a few minutes on the battlefield, his 3 views were basically destroyed, and new ideas were rapidly being rebuilt, and the broken trees, pitch-black soil, and red blood stimulated his body's senses. After the killing, Li Huan's body secreted various hormones rapidly, and his entire head became hot. He's a little crazy. For the battlefield, his shooting level at this time is barely qualified, but how to survive on the battlefield, he is a rookie. Tap click. As if knowing that he was not dead, there were machine guns pressed by fire from this side, splashing the dirt at the other end of the trench. The other party seemed to be determined to knock him out as a machine gunner. Not only were snipers eyeing him, but the machine guns were so overwhelming that he couldn't lift his head. At this moment, what Li Huan was most afraid of was not the machine gun, but the sniper hiding in the shadows. On the battlefield, snipers are the Grim Reaper, who have received the strictest sniper training and can reap life on the battlefield unscrupulously, like the Grim Reaper holding a scythe. Li Huan did not dare to slacken and quickly crawled to another position. He knew that the sniper must be staring at this area, and due to his lack of knowledge, he had no way of knowing where the bullet had just come from. Li Huan looked at another panicked soldier not far away and yelled, "What about our snipers?" "Over there, dead." Li Huan turned his head and saw a young man holding a Mauser 98K carbine, reclining in the trench, with a thumb-sized blood hole on the steel helmet, and he could not die again. Groove. Li Huan's heart was half cold. This sniper had actually been shot in the head. In long-range engagement, only a sniper can compete with a sniper. And the Grim Reaper on his side, killed even more. And the 98K seems to be the standard weapon of the German sniper, how can the US military also have it? Watching the soldiers in the trenches resist more and more weakly, with the sound of banging, one machine gunner after another was constantly named by death and fell. Apparently, there was not just one sniper on the battlefield, but 2. It's a big deal. Li Huan remembered seeing some tricks in the movie, so he took off the steel helmet of a corpse next to him, and then picked up a rifle next to him and quietly let it show a small half of its head outside the trench. Bump! In less than a second, Li Huan felt a shock in his hand, sparks shot out, and his helmet flew out instantly. MB. Sure enough, two snipers, one of them also stared specifically at Lao Su. Li Huan was terrified, but fortunately he was careful enough. If he had appeared rashly before, I was afraid that he would have blown his head off. What now? Li Huan took a deep breath and suppressed the panic in his heart. Between the turns, he saw the body of the sniper reclining in the trench. Then, with a glimmer of hope, he quickly crawled over. What if there are broken souls again? A moment later, Li Huan came to the corpse and held the sniper rifle. And then, nothing to hint. Li Huan's eyes widened and he found that this sniper had been dead for a long time, leaving nothing behind. However, when his gaze fell on a newly dead corpse not far away, that virtual box appeared in front of him again. Found the broken war soul, do you absorb it? Elementary machine gun shooting tips 13. Beginner rifle shooting experience 9. Elementary melee fight 6. Pure energy 3. Absorb. After Li Huan finished speaking in his heart, he grabbed 98K and crawled towards another fresh corpse, gritting his teeth in his heart. Mom, actually press Lao Su to beat. Wait until I improve my shooting skills first, and then I can also blow your head with a machine gun. Broken war soul. After absorption, consume origin points 1. Li Huan crept forward in the trenches, crawling hard towards another comrade who had just died, then absorbing their broken battle souls, improving his shooting experience, and then, find a way to finish off those two snipers. After saying, absorption, in his heart, he only felt that there were many more things in his mind, and the shooting level improved again. In particular, those 3 points of pure energy injected new vitality into his body. List, what are you doing? Fight back. List, they are already dead, there is no salvation, kill the enemy first. They're coming up, what are you doing? On the chaotic battlefield, someone discovered Li Huan's strange behavior of constantly touching the corpse, thinking that he was helping to treat the injured, and suddenly became mad. No, you're saving people. The behavior is also really moving. They also all want to have such a comrade in arms who is willing to treat the wounded. Kanima, is it okay that our positions are about to fall? You, a machine gunner, do not go to fire suppression, and actually come to act as a battlefield male protector. Li Huan's forehead sweated. There is a saying that people are forced out. If you don't find an explanation, it won't make sense. In a hurry, Li Huan was also forced to be anxious, and suddenly shouted. Fack, I'm looking for a shooting position. But in his head, he kept shouting one command after another, absorption. Absorb. Li Huan's speed became faster and faster, like a frightened rabbit in the trenches, scurrying around. In the angry eyes of the soldiers, they showed an embarrassed but friendly smile. No one paid attention to him anymore, and everyone's expressions were crazy and desperate. Hold on, don't despair, wait for me to kill back. Perhaps because Li Huan hadn't appeared for a long time, the sniper thought he was dead, and two clear sniper rifles began to sound continuously, harvesting life. The soldiers were not stupid either, clinging to the trenches, and some were still throwing sweet potato grenades, pumping cold shots to shoot back. And the enemy's gunfire has recently approached the ground by 30 meters. Li Huan gritted his teeth and continued to move forward. As the shooting experience continued to improve, the positions of the two snipers were about to come out, and the trajectory became clearer and clearer in his mind. But it's not enough. Suddenly, there was a strange scream in the sky. Swoosh! Li Huan watched a cannonball fall not far in front of him, and he was so frightened that his body slammed into the fork in the trench. The next moment, when the heaven-shaking noise came, Li Huan only felt that his mind was buzzing, and the surrounding sounds were far away, and he couldn't hear it clearly. An arm fell on him, and blood wet his chest. For a while, Li Huan was stunned there. He remembered that there were several people in the place where the shell fell just now. Now, it is a corpse of flesh and blood scattered on the ground. Nothing can make people grow more than the scene in front of them. The bloody scene, the soldier who was still fighting hard 1 second, turned into a shredded corpse covering his body the next second. War. This is doomed, desperate war. Li Huan suddenly understood why those people could show such desperate eyes. His gaze became resolute, and at this moment, Li Huan officially changed from a student to a fighter. Then, he continued to crawl forward. As time passed, the battlefield became more chaotic, and the enemy's artillery fire was several times more intense than before. Shouts and wails are eternal themes. Li Huan mixed in the trenches, flowing around, constantly fishing in troubled waters. He came to the corpses and shook them twice, absorbing the broken battle spirits on them. The whole position, crimes everywhere. Li Huan had already consumed 15 origin points, and he only felt that his shooting level and physique were constantly getting stronger, his heart was becoming more and more calm, and his face was getting colder. He finally has the capital to survive on this crazy battlefield. Not only this position, even the entire World War II, he is sure that he can survive to the end. That's right, when this battle is over, he will get up. Because of all this, it's terrifying. In this world, no one is worth his life. Li Huan looked at the major officer who fell in front, very fresh, and quickly catted over. Found the glowing broken war soul, do you absorb it? Beginner rifle shooting tips 24. Elementary machine gun shooting tips 20. Elementary melee fight 13. Pure energy 16. Li Huan was stunned for a moment. This guy is so strong, he actually has 16 points of pure energy, this major probably doesn't have to be weak in special forces. Absorb. Suddenly, Li Huan only felt that a huge energy swept through his body, and various skills emerged. The sound of guns on the battlefield was clearer in his ears, and the firing position, bullet trajectory, and landing point were all presented in his mind one by one. At this time, the transparent virtual box appeared in front of Li Huan's eyes again. The experience of junior rifle shooting is full, and I have begun to integrate an upgrade, successfully fused and get intermediate rifle shooting experience. The experience of primary machine gun shooting is full, and it has begun to integrate an upgrade, successful fusion and intermediate machine gun shooting experience. How many shooting experiences I have absorbed, plus this should be 100. Beginner upgrades to intermediate level, requires 100 XP. What about upgrading from intermediate to advanced? It's too late. Historical experience tells us that we cannot be greedy, and it is certainly cool to replenish troops all the time, but you can't always stop joining the tour. Now, it's up to me. Li Huan said softly, leaning on the inside of the trench, carefully distinguishing the direction of the sniper projectile, thinking about the details of the 98K sniper rifle. Kar 98K Mauser sniper rifle, effective range 800 meters, weight 3.9 kilograms, muzzle velocity 75 meters per second, the current wind speed, north wind 2 meters per second. Li Huan's gaze suddenly froze. The first sniper was located in the direction of 11 o'clock, 230 meters away from him. Another sniper, suppressed by our machine gunner, is moving. Just thinking about it. Swoosh. A sniper bullet screeched through the sky. Golden opportunity. Quiet as a virgin, moving like a mad rabbit. At this moment, Li Huan's figure suddenly jumped up from the trench. The sniper rifle was instantly on the shoulder, and the action of aiming and shooting was completed in an instant, 2 points in one line. 200 meters away, behind a rubble, an enemy was reloading the sniper rifle in his hand, when a bullet flew rapidly, bang, a cloud of blood burst out of his forehead, and he fell to the sky. 1. Li Huan pulled the bolt of the gun, quickly jumped to the other side of the trench, put the gun in front of him, took a deep breath, and waited silently. The remaining sniper, startled. He did not rush to shoot, and like Li Huan, he quickly came to a new sniper point, quietly got into a pile of bushes, and began hunting. Well done List, you kid killed a sniper. Amazing shot. Fight back, hit me hard, drive these Nazi devils back to me. After destroying one sniper, another sniper also became silent. The pressure on the soldiers was greatly reduced, the machine gunners were once again threatening, and as the enemy approached, everyone went crazy, roared, stood up and fired wildly. During this period, Li Huan jumped up 3 more times, and each shot must have a devil's machine gunner falling. And as soon as he finished shooting, he immediately decisively shifted his position. Because the next moment, there must be mortars and machine gunners to take care of there. The heavenly frank of victory, imperceptibly, began to tilt back. Half an hour passed, and after Li Huan sniped 5 enemy machine gunners, he did not strike again. Because he sensed danger. The last sniper of the other party has never shown his head, the other party is terrifyingly cautious, and every time Li Huan jumps, he has a feeling of being locked. Sniper bullets, it seems that the next moment is coming. Master, absolute master, if it doesn't go on like this, one more shot, and I will be killed by the other side. Li Huan's eyes narrowed dangerously. Various thoughts swirled in his mind, and then his gaze fell on a corpse of his own size. Then, he sped over. From the beginning, after Li Huan chose to enter the Marvel Universe, he never thought of returning to the previous life of comfortable waiting for death. But I didn't expect that as soon as I crossed over, the situation became so thrilling. Now, that sniper is the first hurdle in his life. Past, the sea and the sky. If you can't get by, you will die here. And what about the battlefield? People die and birds rise to the sky, and they do not die for thousands of years. Launch a madness, don't say a sniper elite, even if the Red Skull is here, I will crash you with one shot. He grabbed the body and threw it upwards. The next moment, gunshots rang out. Bang! Li Huan's body also jumped up from the side, raised the gun, aimed, shot, 2 points and one line, in one go. In the sniper scope, a soldier holding a sniper rifle jerked his head up, and on the steel helmet, a splash of blood burst out. It's done. Li Huan fell back into the trench, gasping violently. The previous battle was too tense. The next battle rhythm was completely controlled by Li Huan. As he incarnated as the Grim Reaper, he continued to name names, specializing in sniping enemy elites and officers, and was active throughout the battlefield like a ghost. At the end of the day, he sniped more than 50 people. Until nightfall, the positions under the bombardment of the opposing tanks, artillery were still not lost. And Li Huan's group of soldiers were finally replaced by their comrades who came to support. Back at the barracks, Li Huan ate a few bites of hot rice, and then went to the bathhouse to take a bath. Looking at the youth in the mirror, he was a little out of his mind. It's not his original body anymore. He was very handsome before, with short hair, white skin, and melon face, belonging to the kind of big boy next door. And now this body, the appearance is 7 points similar to him before, black hair and black eyes, but the facial features are more three-dimensional. There are soft lines of the East, and the beauty of Western sculpture. The eyes are still a little blue, obviously a mixed race. The height is about 1.83 meters, the body is slender and strong, the muscles are tangled but not exaggerated, it is streamlined, and the body is full of a masculinity, as well as a sense of strength. It's just that between the eyebrows, there is a deep exhaustion. Zero actually arranged for me to be a half-breed identity. Lister, this name clearly belongs to the West. What is my full name? Shaking his head, Li Huan stopped paying attention to these little things, put on his clothes, and planned to go back to sleep well. As soon as he entered his tent, a herald rushed in. Who is Lister? Come with me. Li Huan was stunned. Is this calling me? Lao Su just came down from the battlefield. Okay, do you want anyone to rest? Extremely unhappy in my heart. Lao Su just saved a position, and now he wants to let me go to war again. Crazy, right? Li Huan stood up and was about to get angry. Then he heard the herald say, the general knows about your deeds and wants to praise you. As soon as Li Huan heard the general's summons, he didn't talk nonsense and followed directly. He is also not angry either, and his heart is happy, and the general wants to praise him. It is better to transfer him to the rear. This battlefield, he didn't want to stay for a moment. God knows, this day, he vomited several times. Passing through the camp full of trucks and armored tanks, Li Huan came to an ordinary tent where 2 officers were waiting. After the salute, one of the burly middle-aged men said to Li Huan, Sergeant, your performance on position 112 is very dazzling. Your comrades told me that you are a sharpshooter and a great guy who is willing to rescue your comrades. Your family background, we already know very well. Ever heard of the Rebirth Project? Rebirth Plan. Li Huan was shocked in his heart. Because this plan also has a name, the Super Soldier Program. Li Huan knew these clues clearly, but he didn't expect that he would actually come into contact with these things so quickly. Not clear, General, Li Huan replied in a sonorous and powerful voice. It doesn't matter if you don't know, it's a plan to build super soldiers. I now inform you that you have been included in one of the candidates for the Rebirth Project. Now there is a task to give you, it is to go to the rear. Li Huan was overjoyed when he heard it. He was directly included in the super soldier plan and sent to the rear. According to the development of the plot, it is time to be transferred to train with Steve. He didn't ask much. As long as he could get out of here, he could say anything. Afterwards, Li Huan followed several other heavily armed soldiers and boarded a military plane to another location. Then he realized something was wrong. Hey man, what time is it? Li Huan suddenly thought of a question, and then asked a soldier who was smoking next to him. January 13th. What year? Of course it's 1942. Man, you're not going to have a concussion, are you? Li Huan looked confused. Captain of the United States had just seen it several times. I remember clearly that the beginning of the story is the time when the Red Skull found the Cosmic Cube, which is in March 1942, Norway. That is to say, now the plot of Captain 1 of the United States has not begun at all. He suddenly felt something bad in his heart, and continued to ask, "Dude, are we going to the rear? I mean our own large rear." The soldier looked at him like an idiot. "Who told you that we are going back to the rear? We are going behind enemy lines and picking up a few friends. The agents of the intelligence department have made some gains behind enemy lines, and they have to find a few people to cooperate with the operation, and we are now going to join Agent Katie for a rescue mission. According to the current intelligence, this operation is extremely dangerous, it must be fast and fierce, and there can be no mistakes, otherwise we are likely to die there." Li Huan was stunned. "Nima, what about going to the rear? This shit general, Pit Daddy." He muttered, "I'm just a battlefield sniper, why do you ask me to participate?" The soldier spat out a puff of white smoke and scolded, "Fuck. Our original sniper stepped on an enemy mine and both legs were blown off. It just so happened that you did well and were selected by the general." Li Huan. Syllable. Flip the table. Play with a fool. I already knew that I didn't show so dazzling on the battlefield before. Now it has actually been pushed into the sinkhole. The battlefield behind enemy lines is 10 times more dangerous than the frontline battlefield. Li Huan now just wants to open the cabin, blow the cold wind, and think quietly. Then ask a question, is it still time to quit now? I don't want to die, I'm in another universe, and I still have revenge. The plane landed at a small military base. Then 3 men and 1 woman came up, all of whom looked very elite and fierce. Then the military plane once again flew high in the air and plunged into the vast night. There were 9 people in the entire team, including Li Huan, and the only woman was Agent Carter. Compared with the movie, this female agent is more amorous and has a more fierce temperament. Blonde hair, blue eyes, bumpy figure, creamy white and delicate skin, wearing a set of tactical uniforms, Li Huan really felt very stunning when she saw it, and it was no wonder that she could be overwhelmed in the American team. And when the other party saw him, he seemed to be a little surprised. "Are you surprised by my handsomeness? Don't think about it, although you have a good figure and a big chest, you are not my type." Li Huan didn't think much about it, then looked away, and fell into a long speechlessness. Soon after, he was actually going skydiving. Hello batch. Perhaps this list had been trained in skydiving before, but he is now an imposter Li Huan, and he was actually told to skydive high behind enemy lines. Although Li Huan gained several experience points for beginner skydiving skills in the process of absorbing the battle soul before. But when I really want to do this, I still think this is really crazy. A day earlier, he was sitting in an air-conditioned room, watching a movie, studying a universe he had just acquired. And now, he has become an elite sniper of World War II, and he will follow this female agent who formed S.H.I.E.L.D. in the future to parachute behind enemy lines. Before entering this world, Li Huan was already mentally prepared to accept that he would change dramatically. But this transformation is too fast, too sudden, too terrifying, also. I don't know if I will fall to my death later. Crossing is risky, you need to be cautious when entering the industry. Not only that, Peggy Carter is the top agent of the government, the elite of the agents, and at this point in time to go to the battlefield behind enemy lines, hee. If you think about it with your ass, you will probably go to pick up Dr. Erkins, who defected. In this way, he knew that he was about to face Hydra without thinking. Li Huan couldn't help but wonder, could it be that before Dr. Erkins defected, the federal military had already started the rebirth plan? After thinking about the entire Marvel universe, he was relieved. Around the same time, the Nazi states were the first to develop a super soldier serum. And the Red USSR immediately launched the Winter Soldier program. The US federal military has also intensively launched the rebirth plan. Howard Stark was one of the participants and designers, and Dr. Erkins joined later. Lister, how are your sniping abilities? At this time, the voice of the female agent sounded in Li Huan's ears. Li Huan turned his head and saw that this big Yanmar was looking at him with a smile. his eyes blinking and blinking, which was a little complicated. Well, wait a minute, this look, and the expression just now, does she know herself? Within 200 meters, the hit rate is 100%. Li Huan suppressed the doubts in his heart and said quietly. What if it's at night, medium and long distance? Agent Katie asked bluntly, raising an upward eyebrow as he spoke, as if he was thinking about something. Li Huan glanced at her and replied seriously. 300 meters to 500 meters, the hit rate is 80%, 600 meters, 50%, at 800 meters, only God knows my hit rate. Be higher during the day. Great marksmanship. Agent Cat nodded lightly in affirmation. To have such a high hit rate at night is already very amazing. Then Agent Cat was heard raise his voice. It's almost at the target location. This operation is completely secret, and no identity information can be revealed during the battle. Therefore, we used to use code names for our previous address. Wait a minute, everyone will call me number 13. Sausage. A black man looked up. Sandwich. Then I'll call it pizza. I haven't eaten that thing in a long time. Tiger. Eiffel Tower. Quote. After everyone burst out their code names, Agent Cat looked at Li Huan and asked, List, what is your code name? 0. Li Huan did not hesitate and directly said this word as a code name. 0. Agent Carter frowned. That's not an auspicious number. That's it, Li Huan said. 0 has an unusual special meaning in the field of mathematics. It is between positive and negative. It is the smallest natural number, taking into account the sequence of rational numbers, neither positive nor negative. It is the dividing line between the two, and there is no reciprocal. The opposite of 0, the absolute value, the square root, the cube root or 0, 0 multiplied by any integer equals 0, and the multiple of 0 is also 0. As an extremely important member of the field of mathematics, 0 has contained various mysteries since its birth. After the discovery of 0, it originally symbolized emptiness and nothing. And because of the existence of 0, many calculations and logic cannot be established, and then they are listed as devil numbers and disabled. 0. Unique 0. It is also the name of intelligent life 0. Seeing Li Huan's insistence, Cat didn't say anything more, and then explained the details of the rescue mission, and the military plane had already flown over the target area. After several people put on their parachutes, the door of the plane was slammed open, and the wind whined inside. At this time, Li Huan could only jump down hard. I only hope that with his strong physical fitness at the moment, he can act at the opportunity. The tiger monster who led the team screamed, jumped out of the cabin door directly. Li Huan was the third in line, and when it was his turn, he gritted his teeth and jumped down with it. This is really playing with your life. The truth was not as easy as he thought. His body fell in a rapid tumble, the wind howled, and he could not tell where the sky was and where the earth was. He can only follow the basic skydiving skills, stretch his body as much as possible, and not let himself fall too fast. Fortunately, his body at this time absorbed a lot of pure energy, and his physical fitness was far beyond ordinary people, so he was able to control his movements in the rapid fall. The figure finally stabilized, and the speed also decreased. Li Huan looked up and saw that the team members were flying smoothly around him. The trace of fear in his heart faded, and with the rapid secretion of adrenaline, he only felt that his whole person was sublimated. No wonder so many people on the planet in the 21st century like skydiving. 2 words, exciting. 3 words, exciting to explode, refreshing. If he wasn't still on a mission at this time, he would have wanted to raise his head to the sky and scream a few times. However, he forcibly resisted the urge. A moment later, when Li Huan saw the tiger in front of him open his parachute, he also immediately pulled the parachute. With a bang, Li Huan immediately felt a huge upward pull, and the speed of descent dropped again. Li Huan tried his best to control the parachute, fell towards the dark earth, and finally landed in a sparse forest. Li Huan suddenly felt that the darkness around him suddenly became extremely dangerous. Because of the experience in movies and novels, it tells a truth to the traversers of the universe, carrying out sports behind enemy lines, most of them have no return. 9 people, surrounded by Nazi devils and the Hydra elite, brought a strategic scientist back to the rear. The difficulty can be imagined. After landing, the 9 people quickly converged. Everything went very smoothly and no one was hurt. And just when everyone wanted to leave, a crisp gunshot suddenly sounded in the night sky. Bang! Standing on the far right of everyone, the Eiffel Tower in Paris, a cloud of blood suddenly burst out from his chest, and his figure fell with a bang. Sniper. 3 o'clock direction. Take cover. Lie down. Hide behind a tree. The Eiffel Tower was shot. Pull him back. They are equipped with high-tech night vision devices. When several team members exclaimed and reminded, Li Huan's figure flashed, and he was the first to hide behind the stone. Glancing at the Eiffel Tower that fell to the ground, he shook his head. This shot hit the heart, and there was no salvation. Then he saw a virtual box. Found the broken glowing war soul. Do you absorb it? Intermediate rifle shooting experience 4. Intermediate military fighting technique *2. Beginner swimming experience 13. Pure energy 10. Dead. The second glowing war soul. Sure enough, it is worthy of being elite, and the skills in the battle soul are actually intermediate. Absorb. Li Huan sighed in his heart. Although absorbing the battle soul of his companion was somewhat psychologically burdensome, but if he did not absorb it, it would dissipate in the air in a moment, so he directly issued an order. When his skills and energy were improving simultaneously, Li Huan had quietly poked out an eye from the left side and observed the opposite side. The forest was dark, and nothing could be seen, and he could only roughly judge the location of the other party through the gunfire just now. Sure enough, the enemy has night vision devices. He knew that many of the equipment that Hydra possessed were definitely black technology in this era. Even surveillance video is available, and night vision devices are simply pediatrics. Broken glowing battle soul. After absorption, consume origin points 1. Agent Katie was behind a tree not far from him, when he looked over and asked in a deep voice, "Zero, can you beat him?" Li Huan rolled her eyes. "You are a god, I have a pair of naked eyes, 2 guns, no equipment, what you let me fight?" He whispered, "I can't see." It is only known that he was at 3 o'clock, 200 meters away, his orientation needs to be reconfirmed, and multiple snipers cannot be ruled out. Agent Cat suddenly laughed. "Zero, I admit that I underestimated you before, and you are now a good fighter." What do you mean by that? Li Huan feels a little bad again. He has read many movie novels, and whenever a character says something similar inexplicably, he will make some crazy moves. There is also this kind of smile. Once a woman shows this kind of smile, it must be a big deal. "I'm so flustered." Her current words, coupled with the way she seemed to speak before, made Li Huan feel more and more that Agent Cat should have known the person she replaced before. If it were part of his inherited memory, things would be much easier. But he had nothing, but was directly thrown into the battlefield. Li Huan faintly felt that the relationship between his predecessor and Agent Cat should be more than just a simple acquaintance. When he first thought of this, Agent Cat suddenly shouted, "My life is entrusted to you." Note. Li Huan guessed what she wanted to do, but your sister also trusted me too much. Before he could stop it, he saw Agent Cat jump up and run behind another tree. Bang, bang, sparks flashed in the darkness, and 2 gunshots rang out in the night sky. One bullet almost grazed the female agent's body and penetrated the ground, while the other bullet directly entered her left shoulder, flying out a streak of blood. Sure enough, more than one sniper. Without having time to think about it, Li Huan took a deep breath, and you jumped up, your eyes through the telescope, and suddenly locked the location of the sniper. Before Agent Katie could completely fall to the ground and the rest of the team reacted, he decisively pulled the trigger. Bang! The bullet came out, and at this moment, Li Huan's spirit became more focused than ever. After one shot, his figure did not stop for a moment, rolled on the ground, and then quickly pulled the bolt. Moving the muzzle and aiming at another location, there seemed to be a flash of black shadow in the telescope. Can you escape? Li Huan held his breath. The distance was 250 meters, the wind speed was 1.2 meters per second, 2 meters ahead. In his mind, the data quickly crossed, and at the moment he pulled the trigger, Li Huan's 98K was slightly lifted upward. Bang! The gunfire was loud, the bullet burrowed into the darkness in the blink of an eye, and inside the telescope, the black shadow that rushed forward rushed out through itself on the ground, tumbling twice and not moving. Life and death sniping, only fight for a moment. Li Huan hit the target with both shots, then folded his figure and rushed towards Agent Cat, and when he saw her fall to the ground covered in blood, he quickly hugged her and rushed behind a rock. Number 13. Number 13. Li Huan was anxious all of a sudden. Agent Cat was in Team 1, but there were many scenes, and she also participated in the creation of S.H.I.E.L.D. If she dies here, the plot behind it may become unrecognizable. I'm fine, just scratched a little skin. Agent Katie laughed a little painfully. You are such a madman, you should have discussed it with me in advance. Li Huan only felt some swelling pain in his eyes at this time, and his previous concentration was highly concentrated, and he had pure energy to improve his physique, so that he could snipe enemies 200 meters away in the dark, and he could snipe 2 in 3 seconds. If it weren't for the fact that the enemy didn't have good communication, he actually chose to shoot at the same time. Otherwise, even with Li Huan's eyes at this time, he would not want to find the sniper hiding in the dark grass. And the last sniper was even more stupid to change his shooting position, which allowed Li Huan to finally achieve the feat just now. There are too many elements of luck, and if a similar situation occurs, he doesn't know if he can still do such an extreme sniper. At this time, the remaining 6 team members had already rushed forward, separated by several meters from each other, and began to charge in a tactical formation. Hee, can I understand that you are concerned about me? The female agent said. Li Huan looked at this woman covering her wounds, and now she could actually laugh, and there was some meaning of picking beans in her words. Suddenly speechless, is this being provoked? You're a teammate. Li Huan said, took out the wound medicine bandage to help her bandage the wound, and looked at this woman's forehead sweating in pain, and her red chest was slightly open, almost pasting it. What the hell? Listening to the sound of firefighting not far away, it was not intense. While Li Huan was busy, he listened to the voiceover there and said, good news. It seems that we only encountered a group of patrolmen, not stepping into the ambush circle prepared in advance. What about the bad news? Katie seemed to be smiling. The bad news is that although I don't know where this place is, the other party even has the configuration of 2 snipers in the patrol team, and I can imagine that the next battle will be very difficult. The female agent laughed again. Zero, to be honest, your performance just now impressed me. I was throbbing. Sure enough, she knew herself. Looking at her red neck, Li Huan was confused, and the relationship between the two seemed to be really not simple. Don't take such risks next time, it's not that I'll be sure once. In that situation just now, I can only do this, and I trust you. Next time, I'm not so stupid. Li Wanxin said, you will definitely do it next time. This woman is full of adventurous spirit. Li Huan's heart was a little inexplicably touched. Is this what it feels like to be trusted? This fierce woman is decisive, ruthless, and has no mercy for herself. In your own universe, you can't see it at all. Li Huan bandaged the wound, took out another penicillin, and injected her to avoid inflammation of the wound. Agent Cat showed his arm and watched Li Huan's careful movements. She smiled slightly and said softly, List, after this rescue mission, you will quit the rebirth plan, okay? Looking at her expression and listening to the content of her words, Li Huan's face turned a little black. It seems, I'm afraid, really, that his predecessor is with Agent Cat. There is a relationship. And it's the kind that surpasses ordinary people. Ms. Katie. As soon as Li Huan said a title, Agent Cat interrupted, you better call me Paige like before. Really, Agent Carter's full name is Margaret Paige Carter, and Paige is her middle name, which is generally omitted and not used, equivalent to a nickname, which only the most familiar family, friends or lovers will call so affectionately. It is very likely that he was a friend or lover of Agent Cat before. And the two seem to have had conflicts before. In this way, it seems that the component of loving people is a little more. Ex-girlfriend, P.Y. Li Huan's head was a little confused. What the hell is this Zero doing? What the hell is the setting arranged? But at this point, he will not get too entangled. This page in front of him is in good shape, at least for a while in the future. But for now, the most important thing is not to let this top agent notice his abnormality. She found that something was wrong, and Lao Su pretended to have amnesia. You asked me to withdraw from the rebirth plan. Always tell me first, what exactly is the rebirth plan, right? The general directly listed me as one of the candidates for the plan, and I am still confused. The Rebirth Project, also known as the Super Soldier Program, is a super soldier serum led by Stark Industries, which can greatly strengthen the human physique and spirit, and make an ordinary soldier become a super soldier. Paige looked at Li Huan and saw that his face was calm, and thought that he really didn't know anything about this plan, and then lowered his voice and said, the reason why I asked you to withdraw from this program is because the super soldier serum is not perfect, and several human experiments have failed. Now that the military is running out of money, it is necessary to look for some of the most physically fit soldiers in the army to participate in this program. This is not the place to talk, and I will go to you for a detailed discussion after this rescue mission is completed. Li Huan nodded and said nothing more. Tell her not to worry, when Dr. Erkins gets involved, the super serum will be perfect. No kidding, this can't be good at all. If Paige obstructs her, Li Huan believes that he can sleep with her. At this time, the sausages and tigers had already returned, and they stood not far away and gestured to indicate that everything had been taken care of. The two of them then walked out of the bunker. How's it going? What's going on? Paige asked. It's a patrol team on the periphery. All 10 people have been done, but just now the gunfire was a little louder. We need to get out of here as soon as possible. The tiger whispered, and then glanced at Paige's arm. Your injury won't affect the action, right? Paige moved her arm. No, go to the next target location immediately. The group continued on their way. Li Huan realized a little, I am afraid that the next road will not be calm. His next opponent, and his opponent for a long time in the future, there is only one, and that is Hydra. Paige is the first plot character he has ever seen, and it is also a very important plot character in the Marvel Universe, and now, it seems to have a deep relationship with him. It seems that in the US Team 1, he is destined to go head-to-head with Hydra. Oops, thinking about this messily, what is the use of eggs? Li Huan spat out and thought too far and pointless. It's just soldiers who come to cover the water. He has the soul-sucking ability that Zero has given him, just suck it all the way. The road goes step by step, the food stutters, and the girls bubble one by one. And right now, it's about hurrying. The team of 8 people moved forward cautiously, and encountered several waves of patrol teams along the way, but they were all discovered in advance and bypassed. In this way, it seems that it was discovered by the patrol team before, and it should have been discovered by chance when jumping. Those who can be selected to participate in this mission are the elite of the elite, plus everyone is very careful, so the road behind is all dangerous. Occasionally encountering patrolling armored vehicles and motorcycles, they are also very simple to avoid. Sneaking all the way, all on both feet, and so on for 2 days. On the morning of January 13th, it was snowing heavily, which undoubtedly added to the difficulty of everyone's task, not to mention the hardship. The pure energy absorbed by Li Huan was no less than 100, and his physical fitness had been greatly improved, plus his own physical fitness was also relatively good. Otherwise, he would have been unable to hold on. Even so, he was covered in dust and sweat, and he smelled a little sour. The most admired person in the team was Agent Paige, who suffered a gunshot wound, shed a lot of blood, and now went out day and night, driving for 2 days in a row. As a woman, she was able to endure this hardship, and she deserved to become a top agent and form S.H.I.E.L.D. The other 6 team members are also a little weak, but they seem to be in good shape overall. As for Li Huan, he was just a rich second generation who ate and waited to die before. Where did he suffer like this? But now, in order to achieve his goal, no matter how hard and tired he is, he must persevere. To be honest, he hadn't thought about giving up yet. Before entering the Marvel world, he made a lot of determination. People are like birds in the sky, and they will not die for thousands of years. Even before on the front lines of World War II, he never flinched. Now it's just a little tired, and I don't have such thoughts. Of course, with such an awareness, in addition to his prophetic awareness and familiarity with the plot, it comes more from the strengthening of his physical fitness by pure energy and the continuous improvement of his combat level. Moreover, the adaptation to the battlefield in the past 2 days has honed his courage and reshaped his 3 views. Although he could not do the point of giving everything he had for the peace of mankind, he could still do it if he fought to the death for his own affairs. It's January 16th, early in the morning. A few miles away is an ancient castle built on the mountainside, and below the mountain is a pine forest, which is very secretive. In the pine forest, Paige was surrounded by 3 people, while the rest scattered and guarded the surroundings. Paige pointed to the simple map drawn on the ground, and then pointed to the ancient castle in front of her, looked at her watch, and said with sharp eyes. 15 minutes before the appointed time, which is 1 o'clock in the morning. Someone will come out with the doctor to meet us, and we must get the doctor to the designated place as quickly as possible. Remember, any of us can sacrifice, and the doctor must be fine. In addition, those traces found around yesterday, I suspect are companions. When the time comes, you must be more careful. Doctor. Peer. Li Huan quietly listened to Page's arrangement. But in his heart, he smiled slightly. He really did not expect that their rescue target this time was Dr. Erskine. As for who exactly the peers are, there is simply not enough information to judge. There was a big battle immediately, but Li Huan found that he was strangely calm. It was no longer about fear or excitement, but perhaps more about Dr. Erskine himself. The killing no longer terrified him. He preferred to believe in the power of wandering in his limbs, and he was always in a state of excitement, which made him feel refreshed. Besides, he still kind of wants to go to the toilet. But the surrounding atmosphere was so tense and serious, he couldn't say it to spoil the atmosphere. Moreover, which of those protagonists in the movie novel will and pee? Does not exist. But then again, if you wait for everyone to shoot suddenly, when you are nervous, will he have a pee? In her cranky thoughts, Paige has already arranged her tactical tasks. Get ready to act, and finally everyone is right again. After speaking, the top agent stretched out his right hand, revealing a watch. And everyone did the same, seeing that the watch hands were ticking and keeping the same. Paige nodded. Then he said, Tiger, I'll leave it to you here, and I'll follow me with Zero, sausage, and pizza. The 8-man squad quickly split in two, one team remaining in place, disappearing into the bushes and grass. The other pair quickly lurked towards the front, and with a slight sound of sisoso, they quickly disappeared. The lonely moon in the sky hangs high, and in the vast night, the moon is bleak and murderous. While stealing, Paige suddenly asked in a low voice, Zero, this is the first time you have carried out such a mission, right? That's right, first time. Li Huan knew that his unfamiliar infiltration skills would expose the fact that he was a rookie, and he did not deliberately hide it, because all this could not escape the eyes of Paige, a top agent. Then you remember a point, wait until you cannot use firearms during the mission, try not to use them. If you are discovered, you must use cold weapons to kill it quickly. After all, there are only 8 of us, and if we shoot, our presence will be exposed, and in this base, there are at least 500 enemies, and if we find it, we will surround us. So wait a minute, be sure to calm down, Paige said. She looked at the pizza and sausages in front of her, threw Li Huan a reassuring look, and said, those two are masters in melee combat. Pizza is good at sneaking in, sausages are good at popping and creating chaos. So if the situation changes abruptly, then you can just snipe from a distance. Pizza suddenly turned his head and said with an ambiguous smile, Captain Cat, I don't know much about these things, why don't you teach me? Li Huan and Paige looked over together, neither speaking. The pizza was a little embarrassed, but he smiled politely, I'm just joking, isn't it funny? Are you sure you're joking, not killing yourself? Seeing that his companion was deflated, the sausage on the other side grinned and laughed, and then he probably thought that his words were funny, and immediately laughed, but he did not dare to laugh too loudly, and could only make a sound like a tractor smoking. Seeing that another 2 or 3 miles were approaching the castle, the surrounding patrols and searchlights became more and more dense. The 4 of them did not speak again, and moved more and more carefully. Li Huan's face showed embarrassment at this moment, and he shouted for death. He looked at Paige awkwardly and whispered, I'm afraid I'm going to make it easier. What? Paige turned around, a question mark face. Bear with me, can't help it. At the critical moment, he actually dropped the chain, and Li Huan was embarrassed to die. Paige gave Li Huan a fierce look, then nodded, and then signaled the 2 in front to stop moving forward and guard the surroundings. I'll go with you. God specially go together. Li Huan almost choked to death without a breath, only heard that her girlfriend went to the toilet together. Between men and women, there is absolutely no such thing to do together. Immediately his awakening should be that Paige was worried about his comfort, so, still have to go together, right? Just go. Li Huan gritted his teeth and rushed towards the bushes not far away. Paige took one look and followed. In the darkness, Li Huan took out the big guy and began to moisturize the earth. And Paige stood on the side, looking at his back, her eyes a little complicated. I remember that you fainted blood, why did you suddenly choose to become a soldier? It's still silent, I don't know. The agent said to Li Huan. Li Huan was asked, I don't know, how to answer. The problem is, he doesn't really have List's memory at all. And the tone of Paige's speech to him at the moment is very complicated, it seems to carry some self-blame, full of a feeling of unspeakable understanding. This is a little strange. Is this female agent really his ex-girlfriend? Because she was busy with work and spent less time with herself, she dumped herself. And Lister, the little white face, felt humiliated, and then resolutely joined the army, wanting to change himself, or rather wanting to be closer to Paige. All this did not change until Li Huan crossed over. Li Huan also didn't know what to say to the old lover, and now he was still on the battlefield behind enemy lines, and the environment was not right. After a lot of complaining and brain supplementation, Li Huan was silent for a while. Come when you want to come. Everyone else is killing Nazi devils on the front line, and it's not good for me to watch from behind. Oh, without hearing the answer she wanted to hear, Paige seemed a little disappointed, and just said, "This is a good thing, killing one more Nazi devil saves one more life. List, you are a good person, the marksmanship is also very good, I like you more now, I hope you will live until the end of the war." Li Huan, who was inexplicably issued a good person card, thought about it and said in a copy, "Well, I try my best." Paige suddenly said, "Why do you pee so much? Hurry up. Give me 10 more seconds." Paige blushed inexplicably. Shuddered. After returning to the team, seeing that the appointed time was about to arrive, the four of them kept going, like ghosts shuttling through the woods. 5 minutes later, 4 men stopped in a half-human grass in a triangular formation, and no one spoke. As the time passed, the appointed time was getting closer and closer. Slowly, 1 o'clock in the morning has arrived. However, he did not see any movement in the ancient castle, and even the expected black shadow did not appear, not to mention Dr. Erskine. The hearts of everyone slowly became tense. Li Huan and Paige looked at each other, and both saw something bad in each other's eyes. A full 5 minutes have passed since the appointed time, which is definitely a dangerous number. The pizza in front quietly retreated, and said with a solemn face, "It has exceeded the appointed time, according to the plan, we should retreat immediately." Paige shook her head slightly. "The doctor is very important, we don't have a second chance to come over, so this time we must bring the doctor back no matter what. Start preparing to carry out the preparatory plan, conduct infiltration operations, if you can't rescue the doctor." She hesitated, and then said coldly, "Just kill him." When the 3 of them heard this, their hearts froze, and they suddenly felt that the air suddenly became tense and depressed. And Li Huan guessed that Dr. Erskine had probably created the Red Skull at this moment, and on the basis of the Red Skull, his super soldier serum had made a major breakthrough. If he can't be rescued this time, Hydra will master the perfect super soldier serum, and when the time comes, Captain America mass production, world destruction. Therefore, when it is a last resort, it is the most correct choice to kill the doctor who has mastered the serum formula. He couldn't help but think, if he hadn't come here, this rescue team would have come here to carry out rescue missions, so how did the doctor get rescued? Paige took out a map of the castle and quickly made some infiltration arrangements. In less than 3 minutes, the 4 people began this infiltration plan towards the castle. All communication was replaced by gestures, and dialogue was banned altogether. Li Huan looked at the ancient castle that looked like a military camp under several searchlights in front of him, which could be described as heavily guarded. He couldn't help but secretly wonder in his heart about the ability of the American agents, and actually felt the situation inside clearly, and could also transmit the map information. The 4 of them touched the edge of the castle, which was a camp. When he approached the past, he encountered no problems, and the only accident that occurred was that he was almost discovered by a Hydra soldier who planned to come out to pee. At his convenience, there was not a female agent standing guard for him. So the pizza quickly jumped over, covered his mouth, and the dagger cut his neck. Immediately, Li Huan saw the virtual box on him. Found the broken war soul, do you absorb it? Beginner rifle shooting experience 4. Pure energy 1. Seeing this, Li Huan of course chose, no, joking, this kind of motley soldier, he is not willing to waste a precious origin point. Of the total of 72 origin points, he has now used 22, leaving only 50. Now he is considered to be past the novice period, his physical fitness is twice that of ordinary people, his shooting level is already at the top, he is approaching the advanced, and he is completely sufficient for long-distance combat. Therefore, he would not waste origin points at will until he obtained new origin points. Think about what kind of enemy he will face in the future. Red Skull, Norki, Destroyer, Ultron, Thanos. In a true pinnacle showdown, which of these people can be killed with a ranged weapon? Those who can be sniped remotely are all garbage. Especially in the late Marvel universe, the long range is not as good as dogs, and cannon fodder is everywhere, it can only be used to clear trash fish. Fighting to the end will definitely be a decisive battle. Can Hawkeye, Falcon and the like break Thanos' defense? Bullets, missiles, even Thanos' skin can't hurt. Iron Man tried his best, using the general fighting skills and the blessing of the nanosuit to take Thanos' blood, but it was only an inch of wound. Then, he didn't even take a move. Anyway, on the long range, Doctor Strange was able to personally fight against the purple potato essence, and it was only slightly shaken. Therefore, Li Huan made detailed plans for his future at the beginning, that is, he did his best to improve his physical fitness, close combat level, and the level of use of cold weapons. Firearms are with him, but transitions. Under the tense and depressing atmosphere, the four of them twisted the necks of several Hydra warriors one after another, then changed their clothes and began to dive deeper into the barracks. Paige told the crowd that there was a person of their own here. When she led several people into the tent where an officer lived, the two sides almost exchanged fire, but fortunately this own person was clever. Subsequently, the four-person squad was grouped. A group of sausages and pizza, responsible for the periphery. And Li Huan and Paige are responsible for infiltrating the castle and launching a rescue. This was a plan that had been discussed for a long time, so it was executed quickly, and after a few gestures, the squad separated directly. Immediately afterwards, Li Huan and Paige touched a corner of the barracks under the lead of their own people. 2. Change your clothes first, you don't look like internal servants now. The own man spoke. The previous four people wore the clothes of the people on the periphery of the base, and to enter the ancient castle, they naturally needed to camouflage again. Then Li Huan was a little stunned. Paige didn't even have any evasion, and directly began to peel off her clothes, revealing the underneath, her upturned breasts, peach-like buttocks, slender and straight beautiful legs. Annoying. Before, she just put a layer of clothes on top of her clothes, and now she actually turned into a bikini. Li Huan's eyes widened suddenly, and some shy touches were automatically simulated in his mind. Then I saw the female agent, quickly putting on a set of internal affairs soldiers' military uniforms. When Li Huan was slightly flustered, and then pretended to change his military uniform as well, Paige gave Li Huan a fierce look and said with a smile, "What are you expecting? Looking forward to something men are looking forward to." Li Huan buttoned up, shrugged his shoulders, and glanced at his own people. The molested female agent rolled her eyes. At this time, the own people said on the side, "Remember, when you are at the door, no matter what you see, don't say anything. Your goal is the doctor, don't make any extra moves, this base is more dangerous than you think, and even some high-tech is not what you can imagine." Paige got dressed, lifted a corner of the tent, pointed to an open window on the second floor, and said in a voice as thin as a mosquito fly. The target could have been in two places, one in his dormitory and the other in the laboratory on the third basement floor. We only have 15 minutes, whether we have found the target or not. As soon as the time comes, retreat immediately, and then the pizza and sausage will completely detonate here. The corner of Li Huan's mouth twitched. What can he do in 15 minutes? It takes half an hour to stroke a tube. However, he still nodded and said, "Understand, the speed should be fast, and the posture should be handsome." Chapter 11. Then Paige turned around and reminded again. 0. This infiltration plan is not the same as long-distance sniping. You must keep in mind the map, as well as each patrol route on it, and try to avoid attracting the attention of the patrolmen. If something goes wrong, don't be too nervous, our clothes will protect us. And all you need to do is try to relax, you are now but a Hydra warrior. Looking at the reflection of his own appearance in the other party's eyes, Li Huan subconsciously tilted his head. "Don't look at me like that, I'm not your ex-boyfriend." Although this was his first time sneaking into battle, and the way of separating was particularly adventurous, only excitement remained in the weird heart, and there was no worry. Then again, in this Hydra base with at least 500 people, there is actually no difference between one person and 4 people, and if it is discovered, it is all a dead word. 10,000 steps back, if one person in the solo action is exposed, the rest of the separated people may not have a chance to escape here. A darker thought, if your teammates are exposed, you can also take the opportunity to find the doctor, or leave. Li Huan also thought about the possibility that he would be captured alive by Hydra. He was afraid of pain, and the enemy used torture, and he would definitely not survive long. He had pondered before. In fact, the enemy did not need torture at all. As long as he found a hot agent and carried out a simple seduction, he would recruit everything. The diagram of the internal structure of the ancient castle, Li Huan remembered it clearly, and it was already deep in his mind. With his original memory, he must not be able to remember, but his current brain is very good. Absorbing the pure energy obtained by the war soul not only improved the attributes of all aspects of his body, but his spiritual power and even his memory were greatly strengthened, almost unforgettable. So far, it has been less than 3 days for him to obtain these abilities, and I believe that after this mission, after some high-intensity training and sorting, his strength will definitely increase by several %, and he will have a deeper understanding of the war soul absorption mechanism given to him by Zero. After pinning the dagger, checking the pistol, and exiting the magazine to check it, the own people saw that the two were ready, and immediately said, "God forbid, it's time for us to act." Then the 3 of them walked out of the tent together and quickly walked towards a small door. After pushing open the door and entering, Li Huan found that the iron gate was made of 3mm bulletproof steel plates, and behind the door were 4 heavily armed Hydra soldiers. Not far away there was a thicker door with an iron window with a latch. Seeing such a tight protection, Li Huan's heart was awe-inspiring. He repeatedly admonished himself in his heart, calm down, quietly, but when you actually come in, it's another story. Li Huan was full of excitement, and his body was filled with an inexplicable aura, 7 points of excitement and 3 points of fear of entanglement, making him tremble. But the more so, the more flat the expression on his face became. The rank of own people is major, the rank is not low, and he easily passed these 2 levels and entered the inside of the castle. The 3 of them are in the same footsteps, 1 in front and 2 behind, the movements are neat and rhythmic. All the way through the hall and house, less than 100 meters, they encountered 3 patrol teams, a team of 5 people, all fully armed. Li Huan noticed, the rifle safety in their hands is open. Coupled with such a dense patrol formation, Li Huan subconsciously felt that something was not good. The guards in this base are also too strict, right? He squinted at Paige. Although the female agent was expressionless, her brows were faintly twisted, and her eyes showed 12 points of solemnity, obviously sensing that something was wrong. After walking forward for another 20 or 30 meters, the female agent was in shape, and then turned around cleanly, walking calmly towards another passage. Li Huan took a quick look, it was the direction to the basement. Li Huan didn't move, recalled the map in his mind, and after advancing another 10 meters, he folded his figure and left the team. His target was the doctor's bedroom. Along the way, he passed by the patrolman. He kept straight, his face calm, and tried to follow Ms. Page's policy of avoiding the attention of the patrolman. He was wearing an internal affairs uniform, with the rank of lieutenant, and when the patrolman saw him, he just glanced at him and walked past him without stopping. Only then did Li Huan realize how important it was to have one of his own among the enemies. This is simply GM, give them a trumpet. It is also Li Huan who is calm enough, and when he encounters these Hydra soldiers, he does not show any unusual expressions. Otherwise, with the quality of these guys, as long as he looks slightly uncomfortable, or his movements are slightly stiff, he will definitely be interrogated, and when the time comes, let alone rescue, his life will be saved. Moreover, in this base, there is a kind of black technology, surveillance video. That's right, in this era, surveillance video is black technology. The closer he got to the doctor's dormitory, the more Li Huan felt that something was wrong with these patrolmen, because there were too many patrols, and they were all preoccupied, their eyes swept around, for fear of making a little mistake, and the firearms were in a stimulable state at any time. In addition, he met many staff members along the way, and they all looked nervous and walking on thin ice. It took 3 minutes for Li Huan to successfully enter the doctor's dormitory. Sure enough, as he expected, there was no half-shadow inside, and Li Huan's heart was not only more solemn. This base, loose on the outside and tight on the inside, and tense in the atmosphere, can be regarded as total martial law. What the hell is going on? In his heart, a thought suddenly flashed. But no small thing will be so like a big enemy. Is Schmidt conducting human trials again? Or, Schmidt himself injected with super soldier serum today? The Red Skull was born today. Li Huan's eyes widened sharply. No, it wouldn't be so coincidental, would it? The rescue mission and the birth of the Red Skull just collided together. Wrong. The situation should be. Dr. Erkins knew that his super serum was close to maturity, and in order not to let Schmidt get it, he decided to defect. However, Schmidt decided to inject the super serum today. Thinking of this, Li Huan's heart jumped again. Not good, Paige is dangerous. At this moment, outside the ancient castle, a terrifying explosion suddenly sounded. The fire burst into the sky, a huge sound swept the night sky, and immediately after, the shrill siren sounded, resounding through the ancient castle. Li Huan quickly left the dormitory and found that the corridor was already in chaos, so he planned to go to the basement. However, as soon as he took 2 steps, he collided with a researcher in a white coat. Li Huan noticed the vigilance and murderous intent in the other party's eyes, and the other party's feelings were equally keen, and he directly froze. The two began to widen their eyes. Stare at it, Li Wanxin said. Youth, glasses, slightly ugly, thick bones, should be good at hand-to-hand combat. And the white coat heart said, Piers, handsome, slender physique, this skin is also too good. Perhaps because Li Huan's appearance was too handsome, it caused the other party's jealousy. Suddenly, a cold glow cut through the air and cut towards Li Huan's neck. At this moment, Li Huan shot at the same time. The dagger on his waist was instantly pulled out by Li Huan, and he held it in his hand. His speed was faster and faster than the other party. His left foot took half a step obliquely, and his right hand was instantly raised, slashing at the opponent's wrist at a tricky angle. Poof! The flesh cracked, and blood spurted out. This person was also a melee master. His wrist was cut by Li Huan, his eyes were still cold, and he retreated back without a word, and at the same time his left hand had touched the handle of the gun on his waist. How could Li Huan give him the opportunity to counter-kill, and directly fit and pounced? The movement is extremely fast, the dagger pierces straight through, and it cuts back into the opponent's artery, killing it with one blow. Not good. The white coat screamed secretly, knowing that it was too late to draw a gun and shoot. Because the person he faced was several notches higher than him. The master's move, the fight is the millimeter, being approached by a fighting master, the gun is simply like scrap iron. The next moment, he gritted his teeth and raised his right arm, intending to use this injured arm to buy himself time to shoot. However, the next moment, he only felt that he had lost his trace of you. Immediately afterwards, a powerful big hand grabbed his neck from behind. So fast. The white coat was so shocked that he was about to resist, but suddenly, Li Huan slammed his spine 3 times like lightning, and then twisted his neck fiercely. After killing this colleague, Li Huan did not stop, dragging the body into a nearby room. The next moment, this corridor where fierce fighting had just taken place ran past a group of patrolmen. It's a long story, but it only happened in just 2 seconds. Looking at the motionless corpse on the ground, staring at himself with dead eyes, Li Huan also looked back at him. His spirit was in a trance, and he was slightly distracted. It was the first person he killed in close combat. Another first time. He was only a little uncomfortable in his heart. What kind of place was this? The battlefield of World War II, the hell on earth. He was no longer a naive rich second generation. There is only one law in the entire Marvel universe: weak meat, strong food. Well, it's a lot harder than watching a movie. Li Huan muttered, and then his attention was attracted by the virtual frame on the white coat. Found the broken white war soul, is it absorbed? The broken white war soul, white, Li Huan was slightly stunned, the new war soul. Do these war spirits still have a level? Breaking the battle soul, Li Huan could see a dim light on the corpse. The broken glowing battle soul, which is slightly shining. Speaking of the broken white war soul now, it exudes obvious white light. Li Huan was overjoyed in his heart and looked down again. Intermediate Military Fighting Technique 9. Intermediate Disguise Experience 6. Intermediate Pistol Shooting Tips 3. Pure Energy 24. Absorb. Li Huan looked at the white battle soul for a long time, and he couldn't see a reason, so he directly chose to absorb it. The next moment, huge energy swept through his body, and Li Huan could clearly feel the improvement of his physical fitness. He couldn't help but be overjoyed. This guy should be the elite of a certain intelligence department, really powerful, and actually provided him with 3 intermediate skills that he could absorb, and among them was the disguise experience that he urgently needed at the moment. And the pure energy of 24 points is even more amazing. Now think about it, if it weren't for his physical fitness being too much stronger than the other party, I'm afraid he wouldn't necessarily be able to kill the other party. Broken White War Soul, absorbed, consume origin points 1. Feeling the vitality of his body, Li Huan's face became even more grim, and then he peeled off the white coat on the other party and put it on. Hiding the body and casually picking up a document on the desk, Li Huan pushed open the door and walked away quickly. At this moment, his heart was calm and terrifying, and his fear had been pressed to the bottom of his heart. Such a feeling, gee, who would have thought that I was still playing a chicken-eating game in the villa a few days ago, drinking Fat House Happy Water Cola. I really have the potential to be a cold-blooded agent. Li Huan didn't know what the identity of the previous colleague was, but looking at the military uniform under his white coat and his neatly dressed appearance, he should have been the one who had lurked in a long time ago. And now, the identity of the other party's scientific researcher, this gives him the opportunity to take advantage. The chaos continued outside the castle, and after the explosion, several more explosions came from the other direction, and the soldiers were running and shouting. The chaos spread all the way inside the castle. Then, Li Huan heard the dull gunfire coming from underground, and immediately, the gunfire was loud. War is on. Is Paige found out and is in a shootout? After being slightly stunned, Li Huan rushed towards the entrance of the basement. Now the situation is critical. If there is no support from herself, the female agent may not be able to come out. In the chaos, Li Huan trotted to the entrance of the basement. Then, he was surprised to find that the guard at the door had been killed. He glanced at it and found that these guards had been shot and killed with precise techniques, and the parts of the shot were all the forehead and heart, deep and fast, accurate, and ruthless. And looking at the shells that fell on the ground, it was clearly not fired from the pistols they assembled. The pistol he and Paige used is a Colt M1911, 11.43 mm caliber, with unparalleled terrorist lethality, both offensive and defensive. The shells on the ground were clearly fired from TT series pistols. Feeling the danger, Li Huan directly pulled out the pistol, the dagger in his left hand, the pistol in his right hand, and his feet did not stop, guarding, and carefully touched forward. Coming to the basement level, the gunfire became more intense, and there was clearly more than one person on both sides of the war. Sure enough, there is a third force involved in this matter. Which side is it? Doubts flashed in Li Huan's mind, and then he heard not far away, a group of footsteps were running, getting closer and closer, and the strengthened body made him hear extremely strongly, and immediately recognized that this was a 7-person squad, and one of the officers was still shouting loudly. Hurry up and build a fire net, don't let that woman rush up. Li Huan raised his heart. No need to ask the woman in the other party's mouth, most of them are Paige. He held the pistol, and a shocking killing intent flashed in his calm eyes. He quickly came to the corner of the wall, and the sound of running was getting closer and closer, 5 meters, 4 meters, 3 meters. At this moment, Li Huan's figure jumped out suddenly, and before his eyes could see it, the gun had already sounded, and he didn't need to aim at all. He raised the gun and shot. Bang bang. Blood splattered. 7 gunshots rang out in succession, and all of them were fired in less than a second, and the 7 9-headed soldiers fell directly without even snorting. Death is like electricity, guns are dead. Then, Li Huan landed on the ground, rolled with the trend, and stuck to the wall. The Colt M1911 magazine can only hold 7 bullets, so Li Huan quickly withdrew the magazine, clicked, and installed a new magazine. And those 7 Hydra soldiers only saw a figure. They had already fallen in an instant. They were afraid to death, and they didn't even see Li Huan's appearance clearly. My marksmanship is getting better and better, and I'm getting more and more murderous without blinking, and the war has made me unrecognizable. Still, it's cool. Without much time to sigh, Li Huan rushed over, carried a rifle on his back, picked up a new one, then took a dozen grenades from these soldiers, and finally picked up a few magazines before rushing forward again. When he came in, he was an internal servant and brought only a pistol and a dagger, so he had to replenish his firepower. Found the broken war soul. Do you absorb it? Beginner rifle shooting experience 4. Pure energy 1. Found the broken war soul. Do you absorb it? For the virtual box that appeared on these people, Li Huan ignored it. Trash fish is trash fish, which has no absorption value and cannot raise his slightest interest. Some trash fish don't even have the qualifications to condense a broken battle soul. As Li Huan fired, his position was exposed, and he could hear that as his gunshots rang out, the surroundings became more chaotic, and there were many neat footsteps running towards me. Li Huan did not panic a little and continued to move towards the second underground floor. Before the Red Skull obtained the cosmic cube, Hydra's firepower was ordinary, and if they had energy weapons, Li Huan might be afraid of them for 3 points. Now, if you blow this place up, will the Red Skull find me desperately? Thinking of this, Li Huan's hand movements were not slow at all, grabbed a grenade, pulled out the pull ring, and threw it towards the corner not far away. Because just over 3 meters away, there were several heavy breathing sounds. Rumble. The bomb exploded, and before the smoke could dissipate, he had already rushed over, stepping on the bloody corridor and quickly passing. Then he seemed a little alarmed. There were at least 5 people there just now, and they didn't even have the slightest unbearable thought. Have you really been changed by this war? In other words, has this baby become no longer pure? Click click click. The rifle in Li Huan's hand began to erupt into an angry roar, and one after another 9 soldiers fell under his gun. And his figure, like a ghost, can always dodge bullets with various incredible movements. Then he sent his bullets into the enemy's head and heart with incomparable accuracy. Occasionally throwing a grenade over, it was another death and injury. Bang! Coming to the entrance of the second underground floor, Li Huan didn't look at it, leaned out his head, and raised his hand to shoot, then a monitoring probe to burst. Tap tap tap. The next moment, the roar of the Hydra soldiers was heard below, as well as the roar of rifles. This time he was more crisp, directly pulled out 2 grenades and threw them down. After the grenade landed, there was a clanging and rolling sound, and then it exploded with a bang. The sound was deafening, the fire was flying, and smoke and dust were everywhere. This time, Li Huan did not make a rash move, because after the gunfire below stopped, it began to roar in the roar. And listening to the sound, the number of soldiers guarding the entrance of the second underground floor was at least 20 left, and the 2 grenades just now did not cause them much casualties. This is not good news. After thinking about it, Li Huan pulled out another grenade and threw it down, turned around and left. This road did not work, so he went in another way. It is naturally impossible to continue to attack hard. These Hydra soldiers are certainly trash fish in his eyes, but among ordinary soldiers, they are definitely elite. His current body cannot withstand the frontal shooting of a firearm. The underground base of this ancient castle is very large, each floor is 6 or 7 meters high, with huge cement pillars, and is full of various steel structures, divided into many areas. There are also several downward entrances to the second basement level. And the real super soldier serum research is the 3 underground floors. According to the information on the internal structure diagram, from the second to the 3rd floor, there is only one entrance, which does not rule out the possibility of an emergency passage. If he really couldn't find a way, Li Huan even planned to rush into the arsenal and take out explosives to blow up the floor directly, which was also a good way. Moments later, Li Huan killed a 10-member Hydra squad and changed into the uniform of a captain and put on his helmet. Then, when Li Huan saw a Hydra squad running towards the second underground floor, he immediately took the initiative to meet them and directly stop them. What happened? I just went to the toilet, how could it be so serious? Ensign, answer me. Wearing his military uniform, Li Huan was angry and roared with a serious face. The captain of the squad glanced at Li Huan's epaulettes, immediately saluted, and returned with a slight trepidation. Report, someone broke into the 3rd floor of the base. The fire was extremely fierce. Captain Jim asked us to immediately go over to support. So what are you waiting for? Hurry up, I'll go down with you too. Intruders, I have to send bullets into their heads with my own hands. Li Huan held up the gun and said angrily. The captain of the squad had some doubts in his eyes, but he didn't think much about it, and then ran with Li Huan towards an entrance not far away. After descending the stairs and passing through several well-guarded passages of the 9-headed squad, and about to enter the second basement floor, the squad leader suddenly asked in a low voice, "Sir, someone invaded the base at this time. Where did Chief Jackson go? Why didn't he come out to eliminate the intruder?" Li Huan was stunned when he heard this, and you had noticed that something was wrong in the captain's eyes. He asked this sentence. It's testing yourself. Without having time to hesitate, Li Huan instantly raised his gun and began to shoot wildly. At the same time, the figure is short, and when you press the wall with your feet, your body slides forward. Although that small captain had been prepared, with his reaction speed, where could he compare to Li Huan's strengthened body? His heart was directly hit by a bullet, and the soldiers around him did not react at all, and in a daze, they were pierced by bullets. The soldiers at the entrance also reacted very quickly, and when they found that the situation was wrong, they immediately raised their muzzles and pointed at the location where Li Huan was. However, at this moment, Li Huan would not stay in one place at all, so that they could not lock it at all. While shooting, he also threw out a few grenades, and between a few ups and downs, he was already hiding behind an unknown steel instrument. The bullet hit the steel, banging, and not even a single hair of Li Huan touched it. The next moment, a violent explosion sounded, and human blood flew up. Kill a dozen more. Li Huan gasped and was speechless for a while. Could it be that in my genes, there is a factor that kills without blinking? And the current situation, where is still sneaking into the battle, it is clear that the battle is to attack the fortification. As soon as he took a breath, before he could adjust his breath evenly, Li Huan suddenly felt an extremely dangerous feeling in his heart. He didn't want to think about it, and the instinct of his body made him jump up and roll to the side. The next moment, two flames shot out fiercely, turning the place where he was originally into a sea of fire. Li Huan looked up and saw a Hydra soldier wearing bulletproof armor and carrying a flamethrower on his back, moving the fuel injection pipe and aiming it in his direction. Groove. This shock was not small. Li Huan quickly dodged again, raised his gun and shot. In less than half a second, he fired 3 shots in a row. However, the opponent's bulletproof steel plate is too thick, and the bullet cannot penetrate at all. At this time, where there was time to hesitate, Li Huan directly rushed over. The flames were shooting out again, and the moment the heat wave hit, Li Huan's figure rolled on the ground several times in a row, and then his feet were a little on a machine, and his figure jumped up. The Spitfire moved slowly, but the movements in his hands were quite fast, and the flames were spraying non-stop, chasing Li Huan and burning. The next moment, Li Huan had already rushed to his side, took out the grenade, pulled off the pull ring, stuck on the flamethrower, and his figure rushed straight over. The whole set of actions can be described as flowing clouds, without the slightest superfluous move. When he dodged the fire dragon and rushed out 5 or 6 meters, a huge explosion came from behind him. Now the entire underground base is a mess, with firelight and explosions everywhere, fighters shouting, and non-combatants rushing to emergency passages. There is no movie plot to refer to all this in front of him. Li Huan is simply blind, and can only rely on the gun in his hand and his extraordinary strength to kill a bloody road. At the moment so chaotic, he doesn't worry about whether he can go out. With his skills, he can completely make this base more chaotic, and then leave here with people swaggering. And the current level of chaos, the level is clearly not enough. Looking around, the entire second underground floor has become a battlefield. The sound of the exchange of fire is getting closer and closer, and judging by the internal structure diagram, the front should be where the second underground arsenal is located. It seems that Page's intentions coincide with him. Li Huan gritted his teeth again, intending to immediately intervene in the battle and rescue the female agent, fight it. At that moment, he slightly checked the bullets in the rifle magazine, and was about to rush out for a sudden burst, when the fire in front of him burst into the sky and exploded violently. Li Huan's heart throbbed, and the sense of danger soared to the limit in an instant, and he didn't want to think about it, so he threw himself directly behind a huge steel machine and shrunk himself into a ball. The next moment, a booming explosion came from not far away, and he only felt that the ground shook violently. The rolling shockwave roared, and then the whole heaven and earth were shaking, and countless bullets pierced through the air. The arsenal was actually blown up. Li Wanmeng was forced. He knew that there were 2 forces invading this base, not necessarily the arsenal that Page detonated, but he still couldn't help but worry for a while. As soon as the shock wave dissipated, Li Huan quickly climbed up and rushed forward in the firelight. When he saw everything in front of him, he knew how violent the explosion was just now. On the ground, a big hole has been blown out. Walking to the edge of the big hole and looking down, he found that the floor was nearly 2 meters thick, and from the broken position, a twisted, arm-thick steel bar was exposed. The scene inside the 3rd floor is clearly visible. No, something is wrong. Looking at this hole, Li Huan instinctively felt a little unreasonable, because this was clearly a downward directional blast. This time, a steel wire hung silently from above, wrapped around Li Huan's neck, hardly making any sound. But Li Huan still reacted at the first time, and when he dodged and avoided, he suddenly raised his gun and shot upwards. The black shadow flashed in front of my eyes. Master! Li Huan's heart jumped, and his figure also moved. He directly threw away the rifle, pulled out the dagger on his leg, and slashed at the neck of the Black Shadow. In close combat, firearms are simply not as good as cold weapons. At this time, he saw that the person who attacked him was a European woman wearing a black tactical suit, blonde hair and blue eyes, and very good looking. No, it should be a girl, she looked 15 or 6 years old at most. The girl's eyes were indifferent, and her face showed some surprise, as if she did not expect Li Huan to escape her hunt. And the moment Li Huan saw the other party clearly, without any hesitation, he directly grabbed her wrist, and then bent his knees and directly crashed into the crotch of the other party. Don't say anything vicious and fierce, life and death, any trick can be used. This is not a match ring, naturally the primary purpose is to kill the opponent. The girl didn't seem to expect Li Huan's speed and strength. After being grabbed by the wrist, she reacted to the extreme, directly following Li Huan's strength, her figure jumped, and the whole person was wrapped around his arm, and at the same time flipped her wrist, and immediately a short knife appeared in her hand, stabbing fiercely at Li Huan's eyes. This set of counterattack movements is extremely skillful, almost to the point that it is impossible to distinguish with the naked eye. What a moment of life and death! But the next moment, before her knife was completely handed out, a painfully distorted expression appeared on her face. With a muffled snort, the figure flew out upside down and smashed on the wall. She had already overestimated Li Huan's strength as much as possible, but she still underestimated it too much. If her opponent is an ordinary elite warrior, then she has enough time to achieve her goals. But she was facing Li Huan, whose physical fitness was about to reach the limit of human beings. In a hurry, although Li Huan did not use much strength, it was not something that ordinary people could bear, and this blow was extremely vicious, hitting the other party's core. Whether it is a man or a woman, such a blow can definitely make her lose all her combat effectiveness. The girl's whole person arched in pain, and the next moment, Li Huan rushed over, and was about to stab her. This is war, there is no distinction between men and women, only life and death. At this moment, he did not have any thoughts of pitying Shang-Yu. However, at this moment, the girl who was curled up on the ground stood up sharply, and the short knife slashed directly over. The power and speed that burst out at this moment startled Li Huan, and he quickly dodged back, but he felt that his arm was cold, and a trace of blood shot out. Caught off guard, a 3-centimeter cut was cut on his arm. Li Huan was angry in his heart, and when he made a mistake under his feet, he was about to rush up again, but found that the girl raised her hand to support the ground, rolled over and fell into the hole, and disappeared into the flames and smoke. He didn't mean to fight at all, and he escaped extremely decisively. She is definitely not an ordinary person, ordinary people do not have such resistance to blows. Her speed and strength are also far beyond ordinary people. She is, transform the warrior. Li Huan stood at the entrance of the cave, his muscles squeezed, and the blood suddenly stopped. You were the first makeover person I've ever met, and you managed to hurt me. So, are you a product of the super soldier serum, or are you from, what about the Red House? Looking at the light and dark flickering lights in the billowing smoke below, and then, Li Huan jumped directly in. The third floor is a wider underground space. Because of the explosion just now, this place has become extremely chaotic like the second underground floor. The gunshots were constantly sounding, and there was a huge laboratory in the center of the third floor, and blazing light was coming out from inside. It seems that someone else is screaming suppressedly. After Li Huan came in, he chased after several meters, and he found that he had lost the trace of the girl. Think of the previous battle that was as urgent as a spark. Each side fought a move, the other party lost, and he did not win. And the other party is obviously better at assassination and hiding than him, and it is reasonable that he can escape his own tracking. Li Huan was quickly attracted by something else. In the corner of the third underground floor, less than 100 meters away from the entrance of the cave, a fierce and abnormal battle was breaking out. He only looked at it, and he was a little stunned, and then, stunned. At a glance, the two sides of the battle seemed to have a huge disparity in strength, and 3 men and 1 woman fought together. That's right, it's 3 crazy European strong men who are frantically attacking a red-haired girl. Their attacks are powerful, and the power of 1 punch and 1 kick is beyond ordinary people, either kicking the iron plate into a dent, or kicking and breaking the steel pipe, and the fist occasionally falls on the wall, and suddenly cement splashes out. Ordinary people naturally cannot have such strength, and these 3 people are obviously transformation warriors. And look at the red-haired girl, with wavy hair, wearing a black leather coat. her figure is bumpy and hot, but her face is slightly green and cold as frost. She was faster and more flexible, holding 2 bayonets with flat eyes, constantly attacking the joints of 3 strong men, and with 1 enemy and 3, she did not fall behind in the slightest. No, it should be, she is unilaterally slaughtering. From time to time, her bayonet fell on the 3 reformers, and a cloud of blood flew up. And Li Huan also noticed that right on the ground, 2 of the same European strongmen had already fallen. She was Black Widow, Natasha. That is, their counterpart is the Red House, and Black Widow's current name should be Natalia. Seeing Black Widow here, Li Huan's surprise in her heart was not to mention. He remembers very well that Natasha was born in 1928 and is now 1942, so she is only 14 years old now. Nima. Li Huan couldn't help but gasp. At 14 years old, is it already so strong? At 14 years old, is the figure already so hot? It's the pinnacle of beauty, tender and watery. Sure enough, it is a top spy with the world's first-class fighting standards and anti-strike ability, and the lubricant of the future Avengers. At a certain moment, Natasha in the battle suddenly glanced to this side, her gaze penetrated the darkness, and seemed to fall on Li Huan. Looking at those cold eyes and cold and immature face, Li Huan was shocked in his heart. During the battle, and at such a distance, she could actually detect her gaze, and this keen sense was really terrifying. Li Huan hid on the side and watched for a while, and found that it was only a matter of time before the 3 transformation people were defeated, so he flashed and rushed towards the place where the light of the underground space was most blazing. He is naturally not afraid, but he does not want to rush over to join the melee. Besides, he still does not know what is the situation with Paige. When he arrived outside the central laboratory, he found only a dozen corpses lying on the ground, including soldiers and scientific researchers. At this time, a mournful howl was coming from the laboratory, and the light was more dazzling than before. Li Huan quickly poked his head out, glanced at the tattered gate, and immediately took it back. At the entrance of the laboratory, there are more than a dozen heavily armed Hydra warriors, holding shields in their hands and driving machine guns, one by one. Like a great enemy, the muzzles of the guns are pointed unanimously outside the laboratory, and they can launch fierce shots at any time. Right in the center of the laboratory, there is a huge experimental warehouse, which looks similar to the experimental warehouse borne by Captain America, but it is even larger and full of a sense of science fiction. Of course, all this falls in Li Huan's eyes as one word: ugly. And those blazing lights are emitted from the window of the experimental warehouse. Obviously, the experiment has reached the most critical time. Is today really the birthday of the Red Skull? Li Huan didn't just think. Not far from the experimental warehouse, there is a console composed of a row of precision instruments, and there are 4 or 5 researchers in white coats, nervously operating the operation of the instrument on it, looking excited and nervous. Li Huan did not find Dr. Erkins, and Paige was not among them. When he was about to turn around and leave, a set of pictures flashed in front of him, and he clearly remembered that he seemed to have seen several fallen staff members on the ground before, and there was a person lying on the ground, with a back very similar to Paige. Li Huan couldn't calm down all of a sudden. Lying in the groove, it won't be because of my mess, causing a butterfly effect and killing Paige. She lurks in, then is discovered, shot and killed, and Dr. Erkins falls into the hands of the Red House. If that's the case, then it's still barren in the future. Li Huan was instantly anxious. He thought about it, decisively put the gun away, and planned to go in to see the situation. If it's really Paige, maybe there will be salvation. It is definitely not okay to rush directly in. After all, he is just a mortal now, and facing a dozen Hydra warriors is tantamount to looking for death. It doesn't work to lose a grenade. What if you blow up Paige too? When the time comes, it will not die, and it will be dead. At this time, an idea suddenly arose in his mind, an extremely bold idea. And this idea came from a very interesting movie. Entering a strange place, how to make others lose their vigilance, is to call for help, put on a state of incomparable weakness after injury, and issue help sound. When the enemy puts down his guard out of compassion, take the opportunity to kill the enemy. Super disgusting, super shameful. This method is very simple and effective, usually requires 2 people to cooperate, but Li Huan is only one person now, barely able to use, but a little risky. Of course, speak German. In the war soul absorbed before, Li Huan has mastered many Chinese words such as Germany, France, and Italy. Li Huan took a deep breath, calm down, isn't it just acting skills, it's not a big deal. These Hydra dirt buns must not have seen many movies. What's more, now, there is no such routine at all. Before Li Huan, he definitely didn't dare to be under the guns of others, but the tempering of blood and fire in the past few days has doubled his courage. He quickly adjusted his breathing and expression, revealing a look of great panic, and was about to rush out. Sudden stop. Crouched down, stained with blood from a corpse, quickly smeared on the face and body. Then, covering his chest, he stumbled to the door of the laboratory and shouted in panic. Umhilf, German help. The Hydra warrior who was guarding the door saw someone rushing over, immediately raised his snatch and was about to shoot, but he was surprised to find that the other party was wearing his own clothes, and he was frightened and anxious, and he was stunned. Just as they wanted to ask, Li Huan had approached and quickly said in German, Umhilf. The arsenal, blown up by someone called in, it's the Mi Guo Yankee, the attackers were at least 100 or 200, Umhilf. He deliberately spoke his voice intermittently, and there was some ambiguity, and the body running forward was even more crooked, as if he was about to fall in the next moment. When the Hydra soldiers heard Li Huan say this, there was a sudden commotion, and there was a lot of discussion, and their faces were shocked. But no one stepped forward, just looked at Li Huan guardedly. The arsenal was blown up, they had already heard the sound before, and they didn't know anything about the news that the Mi Guoman called in. Some people couldn't help but look back at the huge experimental warehouse, a little apprehensive. What's the panic? Lord Schmidt is here, bring him to me and ask about the specific situation. Among these soldiers, a middle-aged man with the appearance of an officer said calmly. His gaze kept on Li Huan, and seeing Li Huan's miserable appearance, he did not let his guard down. When Li Huan approached step by step, only 2 or 3 meters away from the laboratory, his pupils suddenly shrank and suddenly roared. That's not right. He is the enemy. Shooting. Li Huan didn't know where he showed his flaws before, but you found out too late. As early as when the officer's eyes became wrong, Li Huan activated his figure in vain, kicked his feet on the ground, and rushed towards the crowd in front. When the officer shouted the word, shoot, Li Huan had already crashed into the shield held high by a Hydra soldier, and the huge force suddenly knocked this person into the air. The next moment, the rhythm of the battle had been completely mastered by Li Huan. As if the tiger entered the flock, the killing machine began to boil. Knee bend, swing fist, left hook, right hook, kick. The action is as fast as a ghost, but it is full of fierce momentum, concise, direct, full of domineering. There is not even the slightest superfluous action. His current fists and feet are not something that ordinary people can bear, and those who are either dead or crippled. In just a few seconds, more than a dozen Hydra soldiers fell. There were a few people left. Li Huan did not hesitate to pull out the gun and shoot. Bang bang, several points shot in one go, and blood burst out. All of them hit the nail on the spot and killed with one blow. When Li Huan turned around and looked at a group of scientific researchers with raised hands, the corpses behind him fell one after another. Inside is Schmidt. The researchers still raised their hands and nodded blankly, and a middle-aged man said in a dry voice, "This gentleman, we are just ordinary scientists, war has nothing to do with us, please don't hurt us." Li Huan was expressionless, took the magazine out and replaced it with a new one, and then walked towards the corpse lying on the ground, suspected to be Paige. After entering the laboratory, he already felt that there was no breath of life over there, but he still wanted to go over and make sure. Turn the female corpse over. Li Huan suddenly breathed a sigh of relief, not Paige. At this moment, he suddenly felt a huge energy fluctuation behind him, and when he turned around, he was surprised to find that the researchers were operating on the instrument again. That middle-aged scientist even wrenched a dashboard to the limit, 90%, 100%. The pointer has been pulled to the end, although there is no scale, but at this time the energy fluctuations in the experimental warehouse are at least 200% stronger than before. The howls in the experimental warehouse were even more violent and painful. The system passed the load, and sparks splashed on the console. In the blazing white light, the middle-aged scientist's eyes showed a look of fanaticism and excitement. "Hail Hydra!" the middle-aged scientist shouted loudly. Bang! A gunshot rang out, and bullets burrowed through the temple of the middle-aged scientist and out of the temple at the other end. Find death. Li Huan stood up and shot continuously again. Bang bang, this time without the slightest hesitation, directly killed all the researchers in front of the console. The killing intent in his eyes was monstrous. These people were obviously fanatical diehards in Hydra. He was worried about Paige's comfort just now, did not decisively kill them, actually let them seize the opportunity to continue to complete the experiment, and it seems that the energy input has been adjusted to the limit. Li Huan didn't want to face a Red Skull whose strength was beyond his imagination. Just as he was about to rush over, his eyes suddenly saw a war soul with white light on the middle-aged scientist. Found the complete white war soul, do you absorb it? Complete white war soul. Li Huan was stunned. The complete battle soul was the first time he had seen it, and it was still white. Look down. Advanced genetic knowledge 34. Intermediate biology knowledge 13. Intermediate physics knowledge 10. Pure energy 6. Advanced skills. Li Huan was pleasantly surprised. This Nima is too powerful. Absorbing this war soul is almost equivalent to perfectly inheriting all the knowledge of this scientist. And depending on the skill level, this scientist has a very deep knowledge in genetics, and is probably one of Dr. Erkin's main assistants. Li Huan became excited. 0. Awesome. Absorb. He had just finished reading these 2 words in his heart, and he didn't have time to look at the other researchers. At this time, the huge experimental warehouse not far away exploded. At the same time, Li Huan also heard Zero's voice. Congratulations to your Excellency Observer, your actions have caused the fate of Red Skull John Schmidt to shift slightly, and you have obtained 5 origin points. Yes, what the? Gained origin points. In other words, I changed the plot. There was no time to think about it at all, because at this moment, a red figure jumped out of the exploding experimental warehouse, and then punched towards Li Huan. The speed was so amazing that it left a phantom in the air. Although he couldn't prevent it, Li Huan still saw this attack, and his eyes suddenly narrowed. There was no time to make too many complicated movements, so he directly threw down his pistol and punched it straight through. Bang! The 2 fists collided in the air, and suddenly there was a crisp click. Not good. Li Huan only felt a sea of power surging in, and he couldn't believe that it would be himself who was injured. Although he was not shocked, his figure took half a step back, and it was directly a fierce and domineering whip. The long legs were like a steel whip, and the air whimpered. And at this moment, the red figure was kicking at a faster speed and greater strength, and suddenly slammed into Li Huan's chest. A huge force struck, actually kicking Li Huan out. Bang! Smashed on the wall, Li Huan's body was even printed on it. Li Huan directly throat was fishy, but he forcibly endured it, and his eyes were torn. His current physical fitness is not much different from that of the captain of the United States after being injected with super soldier serum. In terms of firearms use and hand-to-hand combat, he is even more confident that he can crush. But now, he actually couldn't take the 2 moves of the Red Skull, and he was kicked in the face with one face, which was simply incredible. Crossing the dashboard with the pointer pointing in front of him, Li Huan couldn't help but snort, and blood overflowed from the corner of his mouth. He understood what was going on. Because of his appearance, the steps of the experiment were completely disrupted, and before he died, the scientist increased the output of energy, making the Red Skull stronger. As soon as his body shook, he broke away from the wall, fell to the ground on one knee, and looked up and looked ahead. I saw that the Red Skull was naked, and the action that he originally wanted to come over to chase and kill had stopped. He was looking at his red skeleton-like hands, then his arms, and looked down at his chest and legs. It has also turned into a red skeleton. The joy of just gaining great power suddenly turned into horror, and the Red Skull raised its head to the sky and let out a miserable roar: disbelief, despair, unwillingness, anger, violence, and a hint of fear. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Li Huan gritted his teeth, got out of the gap, and ran towards the passage not far up. I thought to myself, the things in the movie really can't be fully believed. I am indeed a prophet, but not God. Also, people who enter the lab won't wear pants at all. When I first watched the movie, Li Huan still wondered why after Steve became a muscle man, his pants were not broken, which is not scientific. He is now 100% sure that in reality, when Steve experiments, he will not wear pants at all, or even a piece of cloth. Here, the Red Skull lowered its head, glanced in the direction where Li Huan disappeared, and raised its leg to chase and kill. However, at this moment, only a series of clicks were heard, and then several grenades were thrown into the laboratory from outside. Without any hesitation, the Red Skull pounced on the other side. thundered. The laboratory burst into flames, exploded violently, and a huge shock wave swept in all directions, causing the entire laboratory to collapse and drown the Red Skull in it. After a while, a dark red figure pushed away a stone weighing 1,000 pounds, and raised its head to the sky with a hoarse roar. There were many injuries on his body, but what flowed out was not human blood, but dark red plasma. At this time, Li Huan, who had lost a few grenades, had taken advantage of the chaos to quickly rush to the first basement floor, where there was an emergency underground exit for tanks and armored vehicles to enter and exit. Just as a truck drove out, with a dozen soldiers sitting on it. Li Huan was short, rolled a few times quickly got under the car, and in the shaking, he successfully left the base and headed outside. Under the car, watching the explosions and fires in the castle, there was a long silence. After getting out of the truck, Li Huan ran all the way to the previously agreed place. The mountains and forests were full of people at this time, and they were fighting separately, and with Li Huan's skills at the moment, they would naturally not attract the slightest attention from them. Looking at his watch, 18 minutes had passed since he entered the castle. Paige is not dead, so she should have taken Dr. Erkins with the rest of the squad. Rush over now, and I don't know if they left. 2 or 3 kilometers away from the agreed place, at this time, Li Wanfei crossed a stream, and then rushed up a small hillside, and suddenly, his body suddenly stopped, and he subconsciously held the dagger in his hand. Looking at the figure directly in front of him, his eyes narrowed slightly. It's her. On a stone directly in front of you, there is a doll, young version, Natasha. And in her hand, she was playing with a dark blue glass tube. When she saw Li Huan, Natasha's eyes suddenly fell on him, seemingly a little nervous, a little expectant, and a little stunned, and then, she said softly, "Brother, is that you?" Well, when Li Huan was surprised at how the other party mastered his retreat route, he suddenly heard the other parties shout, and his expression couldn't help but be stunned. "Brother, are you sure you're calling me?" "No kidding." Just when he was confused, Natasha had noticed the dagger Li Huan held in her hand. Her expression darkened, and she said in a low and inaudible voice, "Brother, I miss you so much." After saying that, her figure suddenly turned upside down, disappeared into the darkness behind her, and after a flurry of knowledge in the woods, she disappeared. Li Huan hesitated for a moment, did not go to catch up, and a moment later, when he was sure that Natasha had really left, he ran towards the agreed place with a stomach full of puzzlement. Although her last sentence was small, Li Huan still heard it clearly. "Brother, I didn't recognize the wrong person. Still thinking of me." Li Huan always felt that something was wrong there. There was so much that happened that night. The rescue mission changed and the response became infiltration. It changed from sneaking into storming battles. Finally, it is also discovered that the transformation warrior of the Red House is involved in the matter, and then meets the young version of Natasha. In the end, because of himself, the Red Skull doubled its strength, and its combat effectiveness was almost violent. And now, Natasha inexplicably calls her brother. So many things happened in a short period of time, constantly impacting Li Huan's sanity and senses, making his mind a little chaotic. Could it be? 100 or 200 meters away from the agreed place, Li Huan met a rescue team member, Tiger. Soon after, Li Huan returned to the team and sure enough saw Paige and Dr. Erkins, as well as the own person. Paige rushed up at the first time, restraining her urge to hug, and said excitedly, "Zero, I know you're still alive." Seeing Paige's nervous look, Li Huan suppressed the doubts in his heart, smiled, and said, "I met a transformation warrior and delayed for a while, let's get out of here quickly." The squad quickly changed formation, followed the retreat route, and ran towards the next location. Only then did Li Huan notice that there were only 7 people left in the team. This is again the case with Dr. Erkins and his own people. He noticed that the sausages, pizza, and a member of the team, codenamed Sandwich, were no longer in the ranks. He didn't ask why, because there was only one reason, and that was that they had already died. Li Huan's heart couldn't help but feel sad. This is war, and the comrades who were talking and laughing with each other not long ago will fall in the next moment. And in the future, he will encounter more such things. After seeing Li Huan's initial happiness, Paige immediately noticed the blood stains on his body and the unnatural swing of his right arm, and asked a little nervously, "Zero, are you injured?" "It's okay, it won't affect the rush for the time being." Li Huan moved his arm, and suddenly there was a piercing pain that drilled his heart, and he couldn't help frowning. The punch that faced the red skull before should have hurt the bone. The kick in the back seemed serious, but it didn't really hurt him. Because at that time, he had already mobilized the pure energy protection body in his body, and with these pure energy protections, it only shocked him to the point of spitting out a small mouthful of blood. However, his last few grenades should have caused Schmidt a lot of damage. Seeing that Li Huan didn't look like lying, Paige smiled and said, "This time, you did a really beautiful job." Li Huan was a little puzzled. "What did I do?" Paige said excitedly. "When I found Dr. Erkins, I was discovered by the internal affairs soldiers before I could take him out of the third basement floor. If you hadn't created chaos on it and attracted firepower, I'm afraid I wouldn't have had it so easy." "It should," Li Huan said lightly. "He did create a certain amount of chaos, but it was those who really took the most credit. He's just a fish guy who takes advantage of the chaos." Seeing that Li Huan didn't want to speak, her expression was a little gloomy. Paige thought for a while and said, "Sausages, pizza and sandwiches, the three of them died to cover all of us. They are martyrs, we will always remember them." "Well, it will." Li Huan didn't want to mention such a heavy topic, so she asked about the process of Paige rescuing the doctor. "Very thrilling." Seeing that Li Huan seemed very interested, Paige said, "Disguised as their scientist's assistant, I made it all the way to the third basement floor, and I quickly connected with our own people, and then came to the laboratory to find the doctor. He was being forced by Hydra to experiment with Schmidt. I went forward to get in touch with the doctor, and when the experiment reached the stabilization stage, I created some small confusion and took the opportunity to take the doctor away. Unexpectedly, I met a colleague there." As Paige told her, everything she experienced was clearly presented in Li Huan's mind. After the female agent acted alone in the castle at that time, she immediately went to contact the Naying, and then very smoothly found Dr. Erkins and was trying to take him out. At this time, sausages and pizza were also found outside the castle, and they had to take action in advance, that is, the huge explosion that Li Huan heard. After that, the series of explosions, it is supposed that the sausages and pizza detonated the bombs, and at the same time disrupted the plans of the Red House, forcing them to act in advance. Because the Red Skull had entered the experimental warehouse, resulting in the entire base being leaderless, and the soldiers could not find the generals, the entire base quickly fell into chaos. Subsequently, the first elite agent of the Red House that Li Huan met, he disguised himself as a white coat and was about to sneak into the doctor's bedroom to look for information, just collided with Li Huan. And then there is a high possibility that because in a hurry, the Red House, like them, was not well prepared. The advance of the plan made them only forcibly enter the third layer, intending to take the doctor directly. So, the rest of the Red House began to take the opportunity to expand the chaos, and Natasha sneaked into the third floor. She undoubtedly succeeded, but failed again, because she met a full 5 transformation warriors, was directly stopped, and fell into a bitter battle. And Paige also took advantage of this golden opportunity to successfully escape the base with the doctor, which can be regarded as a thrill. On the other side, Li Huan came to the second underground floor, and the girl she met who had fought with her before, in order to meet Natasha, she directly blew up the floor slab of the second floor. Subsequently, Li Huan also briefly explained his experience. Everything became clear, but the doubts that lingered in Li Huan's mind still did not dissipate. Why did Natasha call herself brother? He didn't think that this future Black Widow would mistake herself. What must be the reason for this? Now, Li Huan is not easy to draw conclusions. Because there are so many possibilities. Here is the Marvel Multiverse world, which is real. This is not the movie, the step-by-step development of the plot. A small variable may cause huge changes in the future, and even turn the world that Li Huan knows beyond recognition. And his biggest reliance is not soul absorption but his familiarity with the plot. However, after thinking about it, Li Huan smiled freely. There are minor changes in the small aspects of the plot, but it has nothing to do with the big picture, and what he wants is that this big picture does not change, and then work hard to develop and get the Infinity Stones, that's all. Li Huan smiled, and then asked Paige a question that interested him. On the 13th, I didn't return on time. Why did you stay where you were and wait for me? You should know that doing so will bring additional danger to the entire squad. First of all, you are one of the candidates for the Rebirth Project, a rare candidate for experimentation. Paige said, looked over, and said with a bright smile, secondly, I don't want to lose you. Quote. Being watched by the other party's eyes, Li Huan subconsciously looked away. Is she prodding me, or is it telling a fact? Judging from the previous performance, Li Huan personally prefers the latter. Haha, there was good-natured laughter around, and Paige glanced at it with some annoyance, feeling the murderous crowd, and the laughter suddenly disappeared. Can I ask you a question? Li Huan was silent for a moment and said. He has no memory of List, and sooner or later this matter will be known by this beautiful female agent, so he must add some settings to himself to perfectly explain this matter. Well, you ask, as long as you ask me, I dare to answer. Paige smiled and looked over like a torch, as if expecting something. However, Li Huan's next words made her smile freeze, and her eyes showed panic. I found that your attitude towards me along the way was a little strange. Excuse me, did we know each other before? Saying that, Li Huan became a little apprehensive in front of him. Sorry, I have suffered some injuries. Here, he nodded his head and said in a deliberate tone, I can't remember many things. What? When was this? Paige froze, a little incredulous. About a few days ago. There was a battle, it was fierce, a lot of bombs exploded around me. Then I found that I had forgotten everything before that. Li Huan continued to say in a flat, bystander-like tone. No, didn't listen to you. Paige's eyes became flustered. I don't know if I should say it, and you didn't ask. Li Wandao. Quote. Paige fell silent, and none of the surrounding team members spoke again, only the sound of marching footsteps remained in the team. After a while, Paige said softly, I'll remember. 2 days later, the group arrived at the agreed place, joined a group of men who had come to meet them, crossed the border line, and rode on a military plane for several hours before landing in a secret military camp. But it was no longer the barracks where Li Huan stayed before. As soon as Paige landed, she simply said a few words to Li Huan and left in a hurry with Dr. Erskine. In the next few days, the mission report, the people of the intelligence department talked to him, and every day doctors came to check him up, internal medicine, brain medicine, various departments. After tossing and turning like this for about a week, Li Huan was placed in a separate dormitory, waiting for the military to arrange his next step. Lying bored on the bed, the sunlight coming in from outside the window, the roar of cars passing by outside the window, and the neat running sound of groups of soldiers, Li Huan inexplicably felt a little illusory. 10 days ago, he was still an otaku sitting at home playing games, watching movies, and drinking Fat House happy water. Now he is in this high-security base in World War II, has become an extraordinary soldier, a sniper elite, and has an unclear relationship with Agent Paige. Thinking about the experience of these 10 days, it is really like a dream. In 1942, hee. Li Huan chuckled twice. Knock knock. The door was knocked, and Li Huan waited for 2 seconds to open the door. Paige stood outside, brand new military uniform, blonde hair and shawl, smiling, looking like a blazing fire. Li Huan only felt that his whole person was set on fire. 4 eyes opposite, fire burned all around. There are people who look at each other and are smiling, completely ignoring Paige's stretch of hands to the 2 gendarmes. Paige, Li Wandao, List, Paige said. Call, phew. The breathing of the 2 was clearly audible. Li Huan, as a man of action, took a step forward, directly grabbed Paige's hand, and then pulled her into the room, slammed the door shut, and locked it. Bang, the door closed. The 2 gendarmes almost hit their noses, all with dumbfounded faces. In the room, Paige also seemed to realize something, did not struggle, and looked at Li Huan boldly, her eyes full of encouragement. Whoops, Li Huan went to close the curtains again, turned around, and the 2 men and women hugged each other together. Do what you want, how can there be so much nonsense? Li Huan looked at the woman in front of him, and nodded without saying a word, and Paige whimpered twice, fanatically pandering. Paige's figure is like a blooming rose, she has reached the most beautiful age in a woman's life, and her slim body is full of vitality and incomparably smooth. Li Huan slowly stepped back and sat on the bed, Paige followed and straddled his lap, and the lips of the 2 did not separate for a moment. For a long time, lips parted. Paige looked at List, her eyes full of love, and her throat muffled. Then she saw that Li Huan was also looking at her with a blazing gaze. Looking at each other, both of them could clearly feel each other's breathing. Li Huan looked at the woman and kissed her again. Paige hugged Li Huan desperately and said emotionally, List, I love you. The two, reunited after a long absence, and experienced a life and death together, and she needed solace, happy comfort. Aha, I know. List. The female agent suddenly stretched out her hand to support Li Huan's chest, and Li Huan was stunned. What's wrong? Paige looked at him and said seriously, I just want to tell you that I have not had a boyfriend in the past few years since I separated from you. I have not let others touch me, and the only one who has touched me is you. I believe in you. After Li Huan finished saying this, he heard Zero's prompt tone again. Congratulations to Your Excellency the Observer, your actions have significantly changed Paige Carter's fortunes, earning 10 origin points. Shut up, get out. Li Huan took care of so much and began to get busy. I don't know how many times it has been, and I don't know how much time has passed, but the sky outside is dark, the wind is only harvesting, and the rain is stopping. The next day, early in the morning, the sun wakes up the men and women in bed, and you should get up first, open the curtains and look outside at the vibrant barracks. He gave birth to a lazy waste, pure energy traveled all over his body, only to feel full of strength, dragon essence tiger fierce, and then couldn't help but swing a few punches in the air, and there was a sound in his mouth. Hearing the lazy voice behind him, Li Huan glanced back and smiled slightly, feeling a little hungry. Paige came over at noon yesterday, and since then, the two have stayed in this room and never gone out. Passion overshadowed exhaustion and everything, and both enjoyed it, the primitive rhythm, until the second half of the night the two fell asleep. Now I finally feel hungry. Paige helped the quilt to get up, saw Li Huan's eager eyes, and playful smile, thinking of yesterday, suddenly felt an indescribable pain in the place, and was afraid. She quickly dressed neatly, pretended to clear her throat, and fled out of the room. A moment later, she returned with 2 more dinner plates, saw Li Huan still gesturing in front of the window, and asked with a smile, This you practiced, is it kung fu? Li Huan was suddenly embarrassed to death. What kind of kung fu he practiced? It was just a random comparison last night and a proud morning when he woke up. He coughed dryly, and said with a serious face, Not bad, I practice kung fu, do you know Baji? I don't know. Paige shook her head very cooperatively, but the corners of her mouth turned up slightly, and the hidden rich smile betrayed her heart. Come and eat, you should be hungry, my hero, cuckoo. Little lady skin, actually dare to laugh at your husband. Eat a stick from Lao Sun. Eat, no, I want to eat you first, then eat. Li Huan picked Paige up and threw her on the big bed. Paige was afraid in her heart, but her delicate body involuntarily became hot. The clouds and rain stopped, and the two ate breakfast silently, while Li Huan looked at Paige's red and swollen lips. Paige kicked him hard and threatened, You monster, it's not human, I'm in pain now. Li Huan covered his calf, grinned, and did not refute. Remember what I told you before? Paige suddenly said in a serious tone. Did you say you wanted to reduce the number of times? Or is it a matter of trying a new pose? Li Huan said with a smile. Paige broke the skill in a second, and gave Li Huan a fierce look, Tell you about business. I can discuss the new posture with you later. But for now, I'm talking about the rebirth plan, and your job adjustments. She said angrily, It seems that you don't seem to take this very important matter to heart now. Listening to what Paige said became serious, Li Huan collected his thoughts. After all, there is a development about himself, he will not take it lightly. The other day, Paige said something about getting herself out of the rebirth plan. Now that Dr. Erskine has joined the Respawn program, Paige should also know that the Super Soldier Serum has been perfected, so now, what is her attitude? Super Soldier Serum enhances the user's strength, speed, nerve responses, even enhance all bodily functions, and can also develop brain utilization, reaching the limit of human potential. In addition, it can also give ordinary people completely unimaginable staying power, as well as the immune energy of body cells to alcohol and toxins, immunity to most viruses, and will not get drunk. The most important point is that serum can delay aging. For this serum, Li Huan is very interested, and it is absolutely impossible for him to miss the item of increasing lifespan. The practice of giving up the serum for the sake of the plot, Li Huan is impossible to do. And the captain of the United States, that is a symbol, Steve naturally has to inject demutation. As for him becoming a man in the stars and stripes, what kind of joke? He is a good crosser, killing people, bubble girls, developing behind-the-scenes forces, and happily obtaining the Infinity Stones. The title of Captain of the United States is too heavy and too big. He does not have such a noble character, he can't carry it, and he doesn't want to carry it. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe for more videos.